I'd be hitting in the cage and just like venting. How are these guys ranked higher than me? It made me so mad. I felt so disrespected. And he goes, what if I told you that you were already better than them? And I said, really? He's like, you are already more than double what those players ever can be. We're up a run or two late in the game, bases loaded, reliever comes in, and I hit a bases clearing double. I think that was my first, maybe second hit of the season, and I was like, this is it. Finally my moment.
Welcome back to another episode of To the Majors. This intro is going to be a little bit different. Normally we read off numbers and statistics, but this one is very near and dear to my heart. This is one of my best friends in the world. We got a chance to start training together. When did we start training together? 2000, probably
15, off-season 2015.
Off-season of 2015. We've actually known each other for the majority of our life. I'm a little bit older than him. I've known his older sister my whole life. We hung out in the same circles. But really, 2015, we really started training together. And, shortly after that, we moved to Arizona together. And, for the rest of his career, we trained together. And even once his career ended and I continued to play, this guy was one of the biggest resources in my career when it came to mentally, when I needed someone to talk to, mechanically, when I needed help with my swing, when things were going good, he was the guy I wanted to call. When things were going bad, this is the guy I wanted to call. So I'm really excited for our audience to hear your journey to Ryon Healy. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It just triggered a lot of deep conversations you and I had at different phases of your career. And I remember you giving me access to True Media for the first time, like the database where all the at-bats and games are on. And I remember you're like, hey, can you go watch my swings? And you were sending me live at-bats against Jack Leiter as well. You're coming back to the Rangers.
Yeah, I was facing Jack Leiter, and it was not even they weren't even in game at bats. I was taking early VP off him. That's where my career had kind of fallen to. I was, the guy when pitchers were coming back from rehab or injuries, they're like, hey, KP, can you come to the field early and face, this guy? And that's really the only at bats I was getting. So I would send him the videos to break down my swing. But I'm sure in your career too, Cody, I'm sure you've, had opportunity to, just have someone in your life that becomes, more than a teammate. And we never played together, but like a brother in the game that you trust. So I'm really excited about this.
That's one of the cool things about this game too, is that you're 2 degrees of separation from everyone, right? So it's like, if I don't know you now, I'm going to know you, right? It's a fraternity, it's a circle, especially when you get to that big league level and you played for some really good teams. You played with some unbelievable teammates. So I'm sure you picked up a lot of stuff along the way. But
I want to tell you, it's funny too. We'll get there. I don't want to jump ahead, but you're talking about 2 degrees of separation. Wait till we get his call-up story, and you talk about how this baseball world is kind of really small. We're going to get there, but 2 degrees of separation. Let's talk about maybe one main street apart. Tell us where you grew up, and tell us how you got into baseball.
Well, I grew up in West Hills, California, born and raised. And
how far was that from me?
We probably could have hit a baseball from one house to the other. There was a main drag, which is a four-lane street that was separating those Valley Circle. That was right there that separated us. You were on the other side of Valley Circle, so we were pretty close. You graduated high school in 07.
07.
I was a freshman in 07.
Okay.
So he was playing varsity. I was on JV that year. I heard the name, multi-sport athlete.
Did you go to rival high schools?
Rival high schools, yeah.
Rival high
So we're in the
schools.
same division, whatever you call it, high school. And never really got to compete against one another in an amateur space. But the name was always relevant around. And there was a moment where he got hit in the face. He was kind of him, but then he went to a D2, so it doesn't really make sense to me. But 10-year big league or whatever, I guess he made up for it. But I remember he got hit in the face, and he was playing our high school, and I wasn't on varsity, but I remember hearing about it. Kevin Pillar got hit in the face by Tyler Johnson, and it was this big thing. And I was like, whoa.
Hey, you want to know?
Did they fight?
Do you want to know what's really crazy about that? And I remember that day. And I remember it specifically for one reason, not because I got hit in the face. I remember it because we were at school that day and it was like really cloudy and kind of like misty and rainy. And I didn't think we were going to have a game that day. I don't think anyone thought we were going to play baseball that day. And the only reason I remember it is because my parents weren't at the game. They didn't come. They stayed at work because they didn't think we were going to play. And, at that time, like, not every kid had a cell phone. I might have had one, or maybe I didn't have a cell phone, but I didn't like call my parents and be like, hey, we had a game. They just assumed we weren't going to play that day. And sure enough, I ended up getting hit in the face. And talk about 2 degrees of separation. Like, his brother-in-law, who's one of my best friends who's here, his mom was actually at my game, but my parents weren't. That's the person who took me to the hospital. So it's just crazy how the baseball world is really small. But grew up in West Hills, California. Tell us a little bit about how you got into baseball. I know your sister, softball player, mom was involved, in the sport as well too.
My origin story was, we used to always, we had an RV, so we'd always go to the beach in Ventura County. We always go up to Oxnard area, and we'd go park the RV on the beach, and my dad and I would just play wiffle ball for hours. And I had good hand-eye coordination, could always swing a bat, always throw a ball, and it was just fun with my dad. Yeah. And he snuck me into West Hills Pony League when I was 4 years old. You had to be 5 or older. I think he snuck me in there when I was 4 years old to play in the Shetland level, which was T-ball maybe. I think he played T-ball Shetland. And I remember that going through those couple years, like he was always around to coach. He was always there to coach. I went all the way through the ranks of West Hills to the point where I think you and I both have a picture and a poster up there for being one of a few big leaguers that come out of that place.
Me, you,
Jeff
Randy
Supon.
Wolf, Jeff Supon, and Connor Jackson.
Yeah.
Randy Wolf.
Randy
Wolf. So
Valley
Jim Wolf and I, whenever he was the home plate umpire, I was like, man, I'm gonna get a good zone today. And then he'd call one off the plate. I'm like, Jim,
we're from the same small town,
league, bro.
Like my grandma knows your mom. Like they were buddies. What are we doing? But no, the strike zone didn't matter for me.
That's hilarious.
So like it was a good baseball community. Played there a lot, and the whole travel ball scene now that I think we're all pretty intertwined with was completely irrelevant. It was like Pony League All-Stars was the thing. There was an A team and a B team. If you made the A team, you were a dog. And then eventually like an all-star team created a travel ball team, and like it was just.
Don't you kind of miss that though? And I know your son just got asked to play in the All-Stars, rightfully so, but I feel like when you used to play your little league, and maybe this is how you grew up too, like they would select like the best players from your little league and they would join, like form your all-star team, which became like a little travel team, right? But you would go and like represent your whole league against these other leagues. Like dude, that to me was the beauty of travel ball.
And it was so fun. And I understand like our perspective on it, like when we were kids, is probably not 100% accurate, right? Because our perspective was that of like, 8, 9, 10-year-olds, whatever. But dude, I remember it being too of like, there wasn't like this determined team that was going to be there, right? It was like the coaches would all vote. You weren't allowed to vote for anybody that was on your team. You had to vote for kids on the other team. But then you got to like, it was like a whole deal. Like I played Little League, you guys did Pony League, but like I went to Conway Little League, man. Like, and we were good. We had navy blue and white. We had the vest with the navy blue undershirt, bro. Vest. We were clean. C with the star on the side, and man, we were coming. Like we were gonna play.
Did it feel a little bit bigger? Did it feel a little bit bigger when you represented your Little League?
I mean, the goal was, for everybody, it was like, hey man, like we're gonna make it a Little World Series. Like we're gonna play Williamsport, and we never even got close. But like we thought we did. Like we thought, like for us, like it was like, man, that was our big leagues at the time, and like just to be selected and like you get given the jersey and like all that stuff, man, it was a massive part of drawing me in to like the love of the game, right? Because like some of it was earned. It didn't feel manipulated. Like there was kids that, they obviously didn't make the team, but I didn't feel like there was any animosity there of like who didn't or who did. Like everybody from your league or everybody from your little town, like bro, they were all there, man. They were like,
we were there all day. Like I remember that Saturday, Sunday, especially. And I had this moment, like this flashback moment recently. There's a company called Max BP where they have this wiffle ball machine that just kind of spits different. It's unbelievable.
Is it worth investing in?
Yes, 100%. I just got one. It's
Christmas presents.
If you're listening,
you're gonna have Max BP.
You're gonna have more. I got a plug for you. Okay. I got a plug for you. But like it just brought me back to those moments, and the kids will have so much fun. And it's so easy to get the reps. And then like I was walking around the other day just picking up all the balls at a random park, and I was like, why does this feel so familiar? And I don't know if you remember this, Kev, but we used to play like foil ball.
Yep.
You play your game at 9, 10 a.m. and then like you would just
call it?
foil ball. So you go get a bra.
Foil ball.
You used to go get a roll of foil or a couple,
and you would go
with your
play. Like,
hands.
there was a designated side field that you would go play. And then you can do like over the line as well when there wasn't a game on one of the bigger fields. But foil ball was what I remembered. And I don't know if it translated to a ton of baseball, skill, the hand-eye coordination. We can, generalize if we want to, but I just think it was the joy of competing with your buddies.
Yeah.
We just got done playing a full game. Whether we won or we lost, we all wanted to go play more.
Yep.
And you couldn't stop us until the sun went down and the last game happened. Like, hey guys, we got to shut this place down. I'm like, I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
I just loved the game so much, all the nuances. And I remember there were little details that will pop up. I don't know if you guys have this as you're retired. Like there's moments that pop up about the journey. And I remember when I was 11 years old playing in, I think it was Bronco. And all I wanted more than life itself was a pair of metal cleats. You hear all the guys walking around on the concrete, that crunch. Like, dude, that's the show right there. That's the big leagues. I want those. And my dad told me, he's like, if you make the A All-Star team as an 11-year-old, I'll get you the metal cleats. And I didn't pitch that year. I just hit. And I think I had a good year, whatever you do at 11 years old, but I made the B team and I was heartbroken.
Oh, man.
I was heartbroken. I couldn't get the cleats, but I came back my 12-year-old year and I have them. And I was like,
so your dad didn't cave? He was just like, sorry, buddy.
Oh, no, dude. He held the line. Like, accountability in my house has been passed down, and my kids don't love the process right now of accountability, but they're learning it. That was definitely my parents.
But how much do you think that accountability played into the success that you ultimately had in your career?
A ton, because I remember maybe a 13 or 14 U team in Pony. We lost the championship games. We got in second place. So like you got a trophy, and we would always park across the street like to the soccer fields. And I remember my dad and I'm chasing him down because he's mad that we lost. And I'm like, oh man,
hasn't changed one bit either.
Oh dude, Pat is Pat. And like a lot of things that Pat taught me did make me a great player for sure. But I remember we hopped the left field fence, took the horse trail, walked across the soccer field, and on the way there was just a random metal trash can. And he like slammed his second place trophy in the trash can. So I walked by it, 25 yards behind him because he's a lot bigger than me. And I threw mine in there too. Like second place wasn't good enough apparently. And I was like, all right, noted. Like I'm 13 years old, about to recognize that winning and losing has repercussions. And yes, I played this game to win. It's not about my performance. And I think that competitive nature, like that's what I grew up on. Him and I would go to the batting cage as much as we could, to the point where we literally moved houses so he could put a batting cage in our backyard. And it's not this, like it's not 17 acres. It was.
Hey, hold on. People don't know where I live.
They can Google the parcel 17. I'll send you the address, guys. Don't worry. But like it was a quarter acre, and they threw a cage in the very back, and I was in there all the time. And then we go to West Hills baseball, and we would hit in there all the time. I had to wear a helmet when I hit in the cage, my dad, because it wasn't just feel good BP. He was trying to strike me out.
That's hilarious.
At all times. And he, bless his soul, he has had a tricep surgery to reattach it to his elbow. Like this dude was willing to put his body on the line. So thank you, Dad, because of him and the amount of reps we got, competitive reps we got. I think it made me a lot better.
Do you have siblings?
I have two. I have an older sister who played Division I softball, and then I have a younger sister. She was a competitive cheerleader.
Okay.
You talked about the competitiveness, and kind of the discipline of your dad. But when did you feel like the love of the game really started for you?
Young.
Really and then young. I asked that question because, part of the show is to talk to the young kids out there, the parents of young kids out there. When did you feel like you were kind of chasing this goal of being a big leaguer, or were you always constantly just trying to be maybe the best player at your level, and just was your goal to just go play high school baseball initially?
No, I always wanted to play college. And then I wanted to play Division I college. I remember my dad would take me to a lot of USC and UCLA baseball games.
Nice.
And he had a rule. He would not let me step foot on that field unless I earned it. So we'd go to the games, and we'd always get there early so you can just kind of see what the pregame situation looks like. And I always loved those moments. I mean, like there's triggers or there's attachments to those memories. Like there was I think it was a French dip place where they would dip like the whole sandwich in like downtown LA, and we would go there early, and then we'd go to USC game. I remember watching Ian Kennedy pitch on Friday night for USC, like names like that, dude. That was just.
Did you see Pryor pitch there?
I didn't see Pryor pitch there. there were certain games. We would even drive down to Fullerton to go watch Cal State Fullerton. I think they were hosting Stanford one time. That was my dream school.
So,
Stanford was your dream school.
Stanford was my dream school. We actually took a family vacation back when San Francisco was like
safer,
visitable.
Thank you for saying those words that I don't want to say. Okay, but yeah, we go there, and I remember we're walking around the piers, and my sister, I think she got a UCLA sweatshirt, and I got a Stanford sweatshirt, and we were both in like middle school at that age. Like, so he was like imprinting to us that college was going to be like pick the dream school. And Stanford was always my dream school.
Man, so Stanford's baseball program back then. I mean, you just listed off like a host of like powerhouses, right? Like, I mean, Cal State Fullerton back then was that George Horton?
That was Augie, and then George, who ended up playing for at Oregon. It was a full circle moment.
Stanford, you had like Ryan Garco and like all those guys that were like those great Stanford teams. So, I mean, that was the era that all of us, like, we got to grow up. And, I grew up in the Southeast, so it was, it was LSU, it was, it was Florida, it was Florida State, like then, like you guys had like Southern Cal. But it's so cool to see that, because I feel like sometimes as young athletes, we try to, you're trying to create a bridge of like, hey man, like this is what could be, right? Like, it's not like I have 3 sons, right? And I'm not taking my 3 boys out for their baseball games or to practice with the intent of creating big leaguers or even creating college baseball players. But it's like, hey man, like if you enjoy this thing, like this vehicle that is baseball is a vehicle for personal development. And so if I can put like, Stanford there, or even your high school team or whatever it is, like the next level of reaching it, give you something to strive for, like a goalpost.
Or what about even just the idea of memories with your sons or your dad? And that's what I feel like you're talking about, is he may have kind of subconsciously planted this idea of college, not even thinking baseball, but like, hey, have a goal of going to college. But you're talking about these core memories that you built with your dad. And I feel like that's exactly what we try to do with our boys, where my son and your boys is like, that's so far down the right. But if they could sit here a couple of years from now and just say like, I remember when my dad just took me to the field and that was fun.
But it gives them something to also like at that level, it's easy to like, turn on TV and you see the big leaguers and like all that stuff, like, which is great. Like those guys are the 750 best players in the world. There's only been 23,000 of them, right? Like they're clearly the best. But like when you hear more stories about like in your neighborhood of, the West Hills, California, there's a bunch of guys who go off and play college baseball, right? Like in DFW, there's a bunch of guys who go off and play college baseball. So it's like, it's this like, it feels close enough to do, but also it gives them like, man, like watch that guy do this. Like watch this guy work at that. Watch this guy pick up his teammate. Watch this guy, just struck out and he goes in and hurries up and gets his stuff on and goes out there. Like the lesson, like the silver lining is in there, but it's not, Jose Ramirez from the, like, it's like, man, I cannot relate to Jose, right? Like he grew up in Bonnie, Dominican Republic, and I have no relation to him, but I can relate to the kid who went to the rival high school that now plays at Stanford. And now I'm watching him like, man, like it's doable, it's achievable. But if I apply myself in these areas that have nothing to do with swinging, catching, or throwing, if I can apply myself like, and, exercise some discipline or exercise some resilience or put some effort here, it might happen. And so that's how you just see that growth. And like when I hear your story, like talking about your dad and talking about Stanford and Cal State Fullerton, all these places, it's like, dude, I can see clear as day how the picture was painted. And it was like, like it's no mystery to me of why your dream was to play college baseball.
And it had nothing to do. And like, he was always good. Like I always had like a pitching coach or so that I'd go to, or hitting coach. Like he always, as I developed and got older and got better and proved to him, I guess, in a sense that I was worthy of further development, like he would outsource it with more experienced coaches, which was amazing. And the bond was there. But like dude, he was at every one of those lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And like he was always had a relationship with the coaches as well. Because he wanted to make sure that the human that was investing their time in me was not just a good coach, but a good person.
Yeah.
Because they had access to his most prized possession, which was his son. And like I take that really seriously because I work with a ton of athletes.
Yeah.
And regardless of how good of a coach I can be to them and how far I can help them go, like I want their parents to know that they're around a good human. And I want to raise my children around a good human. Like that driving force of why, I want to lead by example with everything I do on and off the field is because I want my kids to look at me someday and be like, I want to be like my dad a little bit.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of ways, I feel that about my dad. And like, there's moments that come to my mind. I remember my sister at a softball tournament in Iowa in the middle Midwest, middle of nowhere. And we were discussing, like, do we go to a Cardinals game or a Reds game? Him and I were going to branch off.
Yeah.
We ended up going to a Cardinals game. So I got to play actually in St. Louis in the new stadium. The new stadium was being built while they were playing the old one. Went to the old stadium and like going back and playing in the new stadium as a big leaguer and just like, whoa.
Yeah.
I think I played really well that weekend too, but like he got a 4-star, 5-star hotel and we didn't grow up like that. We were very middle class and we had what we needed, but it wasn't that fancy type of stuff. And we stayed at a nice hotel. He like wanted me to experience it. Went to the Arch, all these things. And I'll never forget this. We went there really early. I think he bought me a ball, like a souvenir ball to get signed and stuff, and went down there, all the big leaguers that were signing the baseballs, and we were walking back up in the concourse, go to our seats. And my dad has always been a very emotional guy. And as I become a parent, I got 2 young children now, like I've become more emotional. I remember this clear as day, looked me dead in the eyes. He goes, when you're a major leaguer, you always make sure that you make time for those children that come out there because you never know which one could be the next one. And you never know what your time given to them could impact just a lifelong fan of the game. And I know I spent a lot of time signing autographs. I know you were as well. Bullpen pitchers had a little bit different timeline, but like that connection of like, I want to go spend time with the kids because I know how much sacrifice it takes to come to Major League game nowadays. And I remember how much of an anchor that was for me in my journey. I want to be that for someone else.
Dude, that's freaking awesome. Who signed your ball?
I remember Billy Wagner for sure. Dontrell Willis was throwing that day. I know. Crazy.
I'll buy that ball off you.
I don't know where that ball is. I got to find it somewhere. I have a couple Tupperwares in my garage and my parents just gave me. It's probably in there. I remember even a guy like Brett Saberhagen. His son played at West Hills.
Yeah.
Brett Saberhagen threw me batting practice.
BDs, dude.
Bro, he threw me batting practices when snapping off nasty 12-6 curveballs. And I was barreling it. And I didn't know this in the moment. I was just competing. He went up to my dad. He goes, I was throwing that breaking ball as hard as I could, and your son was still hitting it. Like, I don't know what the deal is with him, but like he got something.
Yeah.
Got me.
Hey, take me to Crespi High School. Take me through kind of your freshman year. I don't want to talk about freshman year. That was dark. No, take us through your freshman year to your senior year, kind of like your rise in high school to the point where you ended up signing a scholarship to play at the University of Oregon.
So freshman year, I didn't get a chance to play varsity. I think a lot of people would expect that. But
Hey, I'll be honest with you, bud. I played freshman baseball as a freshman. I did skip JV my sophomore year, mostly because of the field configuration at my field. At this point, I was still kind of like an infielder, but I think thank God, my high school baseball coach, who ended up being my college coach, Sid Lopez, saw me play football and thought I could be a good outfielder. But we had a short right field, kind of like a big like monster. It was like a 100-foot fence. The fence was only 260,
265.
right? So I basically played like the shift infielder. So I went from freshman baseball to varsity my sophomore year. I was playing this kind of like shift second baseman. And then eventually I ended up just staying in the outfield.
That's
hilarious. It's not like a weird thing that you played JV as a freshman. I don't know. You played varsity as a freshman?
Yeah.
Whatever, dude.
We didn't have a freshman team.
This is not your story.
Yeah.
Don't
We
worry
just
about
had
it.
JV and varsity.
But I remember I wanted to be a
Did
short.
your brother play
He
on the
played
varsity
JV.
team?
Played JV.
He had a twin brother, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was weird in my house for a couple months.
I wanted to be like, I remember having a couple freshmen that started on varsity their freshman year, and I was so jealous. So jealous of these guys. One of them ended up getting a scholarship at UC Irvine. The other guy, I think he stopped caring as much about baseball.
Yeah.
Played a little bit of college ball, but that was it. It motivated me a lot, though, just being on JV. I wanted to be a shortstop more than anything in this life. Oddly enough, though, is I was more of a pitcher in high school than a hitter. But I always had weird gaps in my pony league and high school career where like I wouldn't pitch for a year because I would have something in my arm pop up.
Yeah.
I'm 6'4", 225. Like I always just had growth spurts where something was off in my elbow, my forearm. And so I would take a completely year off. So freshman year I pitched a lot, played JV, tried to play shortstop. Wasn't great. Wasn't a great infielder, shortstop. I'm too big, too gangly to do that. But I remember there was a semifinal game at LMU and we were playing against Loyola Marymount University. And it was an extra inning game. I got called up for the playoffs to be on varsity. And all of a sudden I was in the bullpen warming up to go into like the 15th or 16th inning. Thank God Loyola Marymount or Loyola High School, they walked us off from Crespi and like I didn't have to go in, but like that was my almost introduction to varsity high school baseball. Sophomore year, I make varsity, but I'm not an everyday guy. And I'm not pitching this year because my arm was banged up. And also I think we had a ton of guys that were going. Like that 08 class had Sean Gilmartin was in that class.
Yeah.
Went to Florida State, playing the big leagues. Ryan Hawthorne went to LMU, big lefty. There's a couple other guys too, like Jeremy Rodriguez, Carlos Lopez. I think there were 6, maybe 7 guys that went D1 off of that 08 class.
Gilmartin was really good college baseball player.
Yes. So
one of the best.
We had
he's
Florida State.
really, really good.
Yeah. We had dogs on that in that class for sure. And like we had backup dudes that were going D1. Like they were that good. So sophomore year,
Crespi has a rich history of baseball. I mean, who are some of the other guys too? Like before you got there, some of the guys that went on. Trevor
Jeff
Plouffe?
Supon and Trevor Plouffe are the two most notable.
Yeah.
Trevor Plouffe. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Crespi
Trevor
guy.
Plouffe ended up being a
Played against
teammate
him
of
a
mine.
lot.
We'll get to that. He ended up being a teammate of mine in 2017 with the A's.
Yeah.
There's a whole backstory to that though. So sophomore year, I had to grind. I didn't have an everyday spot. I remember we were at a tournament in Orange County area, and it was a national classic. A lot of the best teams from Southern California come there. Teams from out of the state would come there and compete. And I felt like that was the place where I separated myself. I got a chance to play every other game, and the other first baseman who was a year older than me struggled that tournament facing better arms. I think he played college ball too, but that's when I separated myself. I banged, I competed, and I was raking. We played the championship game. We might have won or lost in championship, can't remember, at Cal State Fullerton though. So that was like my first opportunity to earn my way onto one of those fields. So that was like a check mark for me sophomore year of high school. By the end of that sophomore year of high school, I would say I was kind of blossoming as the guy, but was still uncertain. Junior year is when it took off for me. There's 3 years in my entire career through high school, college, minor league, major leagues that changed my life. Junior year, 2009 was one of those. I pitched, I went 11-0 with like a 1.8 ERA, ton of strikeouts through 80 innings, won the championship at Angel Stadium, finally earned my way onto a major league field for the first time, hit a home run through a complete game. We won the championship and for our division that year. Like I think I hit 480 with 3 homers. Didn't hit my first high school homer until the end of my junior year. Like it was crazy. And then Oregon saw me at one of the quarterfinals, semifinals games at Damien, which is another all boys high school, is nasty at baseball. I threw a complete game shutout, hit a ball about 450, and I think I had 2 other hits. And I was in the bottom of the 7th inning cursing at myself on the mound because like I was fatigued, I was exhausted, and I couldn't find the zone. Yeah. That playoffs, we played 5 games. I threw 3 complete games, and then I closed out the other 2. Like that was the year that changed my life forever.
When Oregon saw you,
the pitching coach was there.
Were they there to watch somebody else, or were they there to watch you? Or do you know?
I don't know that for certain. Andrew Checkett, who's now the head coach at University of Santa Barbara, was there watching me.
Okay.
And I don't know where your parents watched your games from. My dad was always in the right field. He never wanted to sit in the stands with the parents. He always wanted to be away. And I think Checkett was asking around like, hey, where's Healy's dad? And I think they sent him down there. And my dad and I'm talking to him. And I think that was maybe a month later, I was up in Oregon visiting.
As a junior?
Right after my junior year of high school, I committed to Oregon. I had offers from USC, UCLA, Cal,
Stanford,
Arizona State. So here's the Stanford story. Tangent. I told you we won the championship game, right? In Angel Stadium. That was a Saturday.
Yeah.
My mom had to request to the school district for me to take the SAT on a Sunday, and that's when all the religious families would take it.
Okay.
I think there was a lot of Jewish families that were there, so they had took it on a Sunday because Saturday was their sacred day.
Yeah.
So I remember taking it that Sunday. That was my 3rd time taking it. Why did I take the SAT 3 times? Because I couldn't get it high enough to get accepted into Stanford. So I went and took it after we won the championship game. That was a Saturday night. All my boys went out. They were partying. I remember I went to one of the houses. They're passing around some drinks. I'm like, I got an SAT tomorrow. I can't. Like, my ability to say no to things was always pretty strong, mostly because I was scared of my dad, but also because like there was something more that I was working towards. So I remember saying no to all that. We just won the championship, and next morning went and took my best SAT yet. I got like a 1710 on it, which would have finally been good enough to Stanford. But by that point, when I got the results back, I already visited Oregon. I took a couple other visits to USC, UCLA, and I felt this connection to Oregon and their coaching staff, and the fact that their program was brand new, and it was a chance for me to go put my footprint into something and actually change the course of it.
Was that the first? Would that have been the first year of baseball at Oregon, or would you have been in like the second class?
Yeah, I think 2009 they played, 2010 they played, 2011 I was there.
So this is the third year. This is the third year of their program.
Third year of their program being back reinstated.
That's wild, because I mean, you look at Oregon now. It's really hard to fathom
where they started from. Yeah,
it's
but they
really
didn't
hard
have a baseball program.
It's hard to fathom that they wouldn't have that.
We were a national seed 2 out of my 3 years there. My sophomore year, we were the number 5 overall national seed, and there was a handful of big leaguers that were on that team, mostly younger guys though. That kind of developed. We hosted the regional, we won, and then Kent State came in. And they beat us on game 3. So they won the coin flip. They were the home team for the second and third game on our home turf. We hosted the regional and the super regional. And they walked us off in the bottom of the 9th inning to go to Omaha. And they were the Cinderella story.
Kent State, I do remember that Kent State team. Being in Cleveland, like it was, like Kent State baseball program. It's pretty prominent as a really good mid-major program. But like, all right, so you got a chance, like, for you. So you talked about like Stanford, and then all of a sudden you get, exactly what you need to potentially go to Stanford. It sounds like from a very young age or from early on, like you had a path, like you were like on a mission for something, right? Like, and it was something specific, right? Like I know for me, I can only speak for myself, but like, I just knew it was like, man, I just want to play in the big leagues. However I got to get there, like I'll get there, right? Like it wasn't like this, like, and so I think by not like something being super far away almost, right? Like when you're 14 saying like, I want to play in the big leagues, like there's a lot that's got to happen between now and that, right? There's so many things that's got to happen between now and that. But if I'm 14 and saying like, hey, I want to play at Florida State, right? Like, there's some immediate steps that I can take that can really help ensure that I go to Florida State. So for you having the goal of like, I want to play at Stanford, like it sounds like you knew the steps. Like, cause I think a lot of us, like we set goals for ourselves and then we see where we're at. And sometimes it can be really hard to like, be like, all right, here's the 8 steps it takes to get there. Right. Like I know what the 8 steps are, but for you, like you knew exactly what those steps were.
I remember getting an email from their recruiting coordinator, maybe middle of my junior year. And we actually signed up to go because the Stanford camp was a big deal. Because it wasn't just the Stanford coaches. It was hosted on their university, but it wasn't just their coaches. They would invite other schools to come there. So the exposure that you would get was greater than just Stanford. But I knew while I was going there.
Dude, I grew up in Florida and I knew about Stanford's baseball camp.
Oh yeah.
Like Stanford's baseball camp was like, hey man, like if you're struggling getting looked at, like go to Stanford baseball camp.
Right above him, and I had no idea what that was.
You also played 17 sports, so like maybe lock in on one time.
No, I knew about the Stanford baseball camp, but it's just really cool. So like, do you think? Because like like Kevin said earlier, like we talk, like a lot of what we're putting out there is obviously like we want to get into your story and like share awesome big league stories and all that stuff. But a lot of it is to the kid who's 14 right now trying to figure out what's next, or to the parent of that kid, right? How do you think, what do you think your dad did for you, or if it just came naturally to you where it was like, this is where I want to be and I'm going to like reverse engineer this thing backwards to get there? Because a lot of times it's just, you can be anything you want to be, let's go to a Rangers game, look at Corey Seager, or let's go play the game, and you could reach that. But it's like, man, like there's steps here, right? There's levels. Like we talk about it all the time, and nobody's got a straight path, right? Like it's kind of like this, but like if you can have something that's right in front of you to strive for, I feel like it kind of keeps you locked in. Like you were at that party and they were passing stuff around and you're like, no, man, I got SATs tomorrow, because you had that next, like you knew what that next step was. And I feel like that kind of North Star, could be healthy for all of us.
I think that's a great point. And there are moments in my major league career when I lost that. I didn't have something I was striving for. You work your entire life to get someplace, and once you get there, you're scratching and clawing and fighting everyone else plus yourself to stay there. And I think things went really sideways for me at that point. And I probably lost the perspective on how I got there, which is why I think this is so cool, is it helps give younger athletes the perspective that even a major leaguer doesn't have it all figured out. And there were moments when maybe we had things figured out, but the simplest foundation that I remember was like, Stanford was my goal, great, you'd have good grades. And the discipline that it took to have good grades was a daily effort. It was making sure that my homework was done every single night, a simple, controllable thing. Making sure that I was studying for tests. I was a terrible test taker. Okay, does that mean I give up on the grades? No, that means that I really dominate the homework because I have control over that. So really making sure that my homework was done on time and done well. And I think I ended up leaving high school with a 3.7 GPA, which I'm not that smart of a guy. Like I had to really work hard for that. But I remember education being so important in my family that professional scouts were coming to my house my senior year of high school, and they were sitting in my living room asking me about professional baseball. And my dad literally said, it's going to take $4 million for you to get them. I was nowhere near worth that, to be clear. And that story came back around in AA when one of the scouting directors was in town in Midland, Texas. We were actually in Frisco. And they went and read my scouting report from high school. Like, $4 million, really, Healy? I was like, there's a whole story. Like, it's okay. It wasn't supposed to happen. I didn't get drafted because of it. So, like, mission accomplished for my dad. But that tells you that the major leagues was not the most important thing. It wasn't my North Star. It was college. Because I can get education, and the education would give me the opportunity to do things that were bigger in life.
Yeah, I was going to be my question. Did you get drafted out of high school? Clearly not, because your dad set a $4 million bounty on your head. But I was going to ask you, if you had accomplished all the things that you had set out to do in terms of the SAT scores, the GPA to go to Stanford, what was it about the conversation with George Horton that made you change your mind?
I'm glad you brought that back around, because George actually wasn't in Eugene when I took that visit. And because of that, he went out of his way to come to my family's home in West Hills and sit down and have dinner with us. So George sat in my backyard, which is still the same dining room circular table.
With the batting
my dad,
cage.
The batting cage back there. And I'm sure George walked in and was like, whoa. And we had, I think he had a second meetings lined up for after ours. There was a shortstop in Burbank named Lonnie Capilla who actually went to Stanford. He was supposed to go to his house after. And they ended up blowing it off and spending 4+ hours at my house with myself and my family. Just talking life, and my dad being my dad, just grilling him on questions and things, and just like wanting to know, who is this man that I'm going to potentially hand my son off to? And I don't know why, like I ended up developing this desire to leave the state of California to go to college. I just wanted something different. Some guys want to stay really close to home. I always wanted to go far away. Not because I had a bad situation at home. I just wanted to go explore and see what the world had to offer. So George came to our house, the conversation, I can't remember much of it. My dad has a moment where he remembered George was leaving and they were in like our front, porch area. And my dad went out there with him, and he came back in, his eyes were like really swelled up and red. And like, he was just like, I think my dad knew at that point that was the man he wanted to allow me to be coached by. And like, he was in tears and told you he was emotional. Like, he was in tears talking to George. Like, if I allow my son to come to Oregon, like, you're going to take care of him. You're going to develop the man. You're going to make sure you hold him accountable. You're going to make sure all these things, and like things that I wasn't thinking about because I was 17, 18 years old. And I remember we went to Oregon and it was gorgeous. It was the middle of summer, and like, that's the time to be in the Pacific Northwest. It was beautiful weather. The facilities knock you out of your seat. And at that point, when I was on the flight back, I'm like, this is the place I'm going. I remember getting off, like driving out of the small Eugene airport, and there was a big billboard, and it was of some of the football players and track players. And like, I remember looking at my parents like, I'm going to be on one of those one day.
That's sick.
Like, I'm going to be that guy.
Did you Did you want to leave the state of Florida?
So I don't know. I think for me,
because I know for me, I didn't want to leave California. Obviously, growing up where we grew up, there was a lot of options of schools, like much like him, the same schools that he was talking about. Like I wanted to go to USC or UCLA or Fullerton or Long Beach.
So growing up in Orlando, I had options, right? Like you had Florida State, you had Florida, Miami,
UCF.
And UCF was right there. And UCF was a mid-major program at the time. They're in the Big 12 now, ton of success. Actually, their head coach now was a volunteer assistant when I was there, Rich Wallace. He's done an outstanding job with that program. And it's a huge school. Like I think it's like the second biggest undergrad, like in terms of enrollment in the country. But I found myself when I was in high school I was playing high school summer ball for a team out of Georgia. I would go up to Georgia in the summer and I would live in these barracks. Like it was wild. And I wanted to go to UGA. I wanted to go to University of Georgia. Dave Perno was the head coach there. And it wasn't a fit. Like they were just like, yeah, sure, you're pretty good, but we've got better, right? And so I ended up staying at home. I went to a UCF baseball camp, met Craig Cozart there, and like I still have an unbelievable relationship with him. He was the pitch coach at the time, recruiting coordinator, and I was like, dude, I got to play for this guy. So I went to UCF for a couple of years, and kind of and took a different path from there. But I don't think it had a ton to do with geography for me. But I do think going to UCF out of high school and spending 2 years in my own backyard maybe potentially helped. Like I'm from Orlando. I live in Dallas-Fort Worth now. I think it kind of was like, you know what? I do kind of want to, like, after I kind of got to experience being away, because I got cut from my college team and they were like, hey, you got to go somewhere else. I had to leave my own backyard. I ended up enjoying it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to explore kind of what's out there.
So take me through your freshman year. You get there, you're playing, which at the time was George Horton kind of this legendary coach. He's already this, because he's coming from
Irvine.
Fullerton.
Fullerton.
I was going to say Fullerton.
Fullerton.
So he's already kind of this legendary figure in college baseball, and he's taking
he won a national title.
He's taking this
coach under Augie Garrido, like he was him.
Yeah.
And he's taking this challenge of this new program, Oregon, this shiny new toy. Take me through your freshman year. You obviously, and I know you very well. Like I know the relationship you have with your dad, how close, how impactful your dad was. But you're now away from home for the first time. You've left your dad, you've left your house, you've left everything that you're comfortable with in the state of California. You're in Oregon. Your dad's now trusted this legendary college figure. At this point, are you even thinking professional baseball? Or you're thinking like, I'm going to school, play college baseball. Let's kind of just see where this journey takes me.
I would say professional baseball was a thought, mostly because we had players at Oregon that I knew were going to be drafted. Like we had Tyler Anderson, who was, I think, the first rounder out of Oregon from reinstating the program. And he was a junior when I was a freshman. So watching that development and watching his commitment to the weight room, to his routine, to his prep work, like that was really eye-opening to me. But I also know that if I played college baseball and what's available nowadays, I would have been out of there my freshman year. Because I remember starting the first game of the season, and we always opened up in Hawaii. So you go from cold Eugene to warm Hawaii, tropical, and I started the first game of the season at DH. And I think I went 0 for 3 with a sack bunt. And
sack bunt?
Bunt, what's
Did
that?
you have any sack bunts in your professional career?
I did have some bunt base hits, but I don't know about sack bunts. Oh, I knew how to bunt, though, that West Coast baseball style. Like, I knew how to bunt for sure. I got a kid right now who's at IMG who got benched for not being able to bunt. So we're literally doing some bunting practice where we hit in the cage right now. Like, I'm like, listen, buddy, you got to learn. So let's start now. Sidetrack. But my freshman year started the first game of the season and didn't see the field the rest of the series. Got a pinch hit later on, maybe in game 4 of that 4-game, visit to Hawaii. And I hit a double. I was so mad. I remember one of the assistant coaches, he told me, he's like, dude, Healy, you'd be happy sitting the bench for the New York Yankees, right? Because at that point we had the best, like one of the best teams that Oregon's ever seen.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I wouldn't. Like, I wouldn't be happy sitting the bench for anyone. I want to be out there. Like, that was the fire that I had. So I was pissed. And then got a random pinch hit double and went down this cycle. I didn't play for a while. Fast forward to about halfway through the season, we're playing University of Arizona. They were in Eugene. Sunday day game, on-field BP, the DH spot was up for grabs. I guess there was guys underperforming, whatever. And they kind of said, like, the best batting practice today will get to start in DH. And I had the best BP of my life. Started that game, hit a home run, hit a double, hit a single. And I don't think I sat, we'll have to look this up, but I don't know if I sat another game in my Oregon career. I think I played every single game for the rest of my time at Oregon, never gave up the spot. But I remember calling my dad early on that spring season, like, I want to transfer. Let's see if USC, let's see if UCLA still wants me. And then he's like, buddy, you committed to the school. Like, you committed to the school for at least 3 years. And you can transfer, but you're going to go sit out a year. You ready for that?
Mm-hmm.
And like, there was repercussions to your decisions back then when you were going through that journey. Mm-hmm. And I was like, fine, I got to make the best of it. And I think the lack of escape route forced me to tap into a different level of just like determination and grit, resiliency, all these things. And it forced me to just make the best of what I had. And eventually I was able to. And I would say the summer after my sophomore year of college is when like the draft and the big leagues started to like come to mind. The current head coach, Mark Wazakowski, who used to be assistant at U of A, came to Oregon my sophomore year, changed my offensive career, taught me how to pull the baseball in the air with backspin instead of getting out and around it. Hit really well my sophomore year. The power started to show up. That summer I went to the Cape though. And I think I hit 380 with 4 homers in my first 3 weeks of being there. And I was a starting third baseman for the All-Star team in the Cape Cod League. And I went,
what
oh my
team was
God.
this?
Fenway, right?
So that was the first year
What
they
team were
didn't
you
do
on
it at
in the-
Fenway.
Didn't do it at
What?
Fenway?
Tough. I know.
Good.
What
night.
team were you on in the Cape?
I played for the
Kettlers?
Brewster. Katuitt Kettlers my first year.
First year. So what? That would have been after your freshman
year.
year?
So I went to the Cape twice.
That's what I know. You kind of skipped. So you played for the Kettlers your freshman year.
Yeah.
After your freshman year,
That was a tough
You
summer.
come back for your sophomore year. You have this coach who kind of changes your offensive profile. You go to the Cape again. You play for the Whitecaps. Is that the year you played with Aaron Judge?
Yeah.
See, I do my homework.
Yeah.
There you
Play
go.
there,
Yeah,
Judge.
so, and Judge was Fresno State guy, right?
Yeah, Fresno State guy, and he was so raw, so unpolished, kind of like what you saw when he got to the major leagues at first.
Yeah.
But my goodness, there was a ball that I remember hitting in Brewster that the shortstop, no joke, the shortstop jumped for, and there was a tree line in left center field that was probably 30 feet high. This the height of the Green Monster, and it was still climbing through those trees that went out.
Just like a Tiger Woods stinger.
It was
like
unbelievable, the baseballs that he would hit. I remember he actually went into the home run derby in Omaha that summer. I think he left and came back.
Oh, okay.
And that's when they could use like the old orange composites and stuff.
Oh, dude,
what a show he put on during
stealths,
that.
the Easton stealths. Man,
Yeah.
those things were dangerous.
Do you believe that time in the Cape, and granted, you're already at a pretty prominent school playing in a good baseball conference, but do you feel like that time in 2012 playing in the Cape Cod League, going to play in the All-Star game, which pretty much every day in the Cape is like an All-Star game, right? But then you're in the All-Star game of the All-Star game. At that point, do you start to understand like, man, I'm a little bit different than everyone around me? Like I have aspirations of getting drafted. Like I'm on my journey.
I would say more so I felt like I belonged finally. I felt like that was a validating moment for me that summer of like all of these names that have had so much hype out of high school that maybe did get drafted but chose to go to college, that I was constantly
And do you
comparing
remember some
myself
of those
to.
names that you played against in the Cape League?
Yeah, so like those.
Okay.
There was Eric Jagailo, was a first rounder, went to Notre Dame, got drafted. Victor Roach was one that I played with my first year. He was I think it was Alabama, Southern Alabama. Hit 30 home runs a sophomore year of college and went out to the Cape, and like he was the name. Sean Manaea, I actually just saw him a couple weeks ago in Seattle. Chance to reminisce on some of those.
Where did he go to school?
I'll look it up.
He's a
Indiana
Cali.
State.
Indiana State.
Indiana State.
Same college
This
as
dude
Larry
had
Bird.
vertical break before vertical break existed, and he had a changeup that acted like a split finger that I'd never seen before in my entire life. And this dude was unhittable. And I ended up playing with him in the minor leagues, which
and then,
was
did you play with him in Oakland?
play with him in the minor leagues. So we got traded in 2015 from the Royals to the A's.
For
Joined us in
Zobrist,
Midland,
right?
Texas. Yeah, it was Zobrist, and then there was a righty that I was just talking about. Oh my
He would
god!
have been on. He got traded from the Royals to Oakland.
No,
No, I
he
think
got
he went from
traded
the A's to the Royals.
He got,
A's to the Royals.
yeah,
So in
Zobrist.
2015
Hamels? No,
Would it have been a guy that was like in the postseason, like mix?
I think so. I
gotta
don't know, this
think
one, the
about
A's
that.
were really competitive. Like, and they were making big moves.
Yeah.
Remember they got John Lester as well. Like, there was a lot of moves going on. But regardless, we were talking about the Cape.
Yeah. When I just said,
Sean
was,
Mania, you
was there
played-
some
played with some-
validation? Was there some validation
So,
in your time in the Cape
That was the first time that I felt like, oh man, like I might be in these conversations. And my numbers in college were good. I think I hit between 310 and 320 my first couple years. In my junior year, I really took off. And I finally felt like I might belong in these conversations of being like in the top 5 rounds of this draft coming up next year. And I remember playing third base a ton that year. In the Capes, I was trying to show my versatility. I was kind of anchored at first base.
Yeah.
Because of high school, I was a really good pitcher. So when I didn't pitch, I'd play first base to rest my arm. So I went to college. I was still a pitcher through 5 2/3 my freshman year, but kind of got anchored to first base. I learned how to play defense in college, but it was at first base. We had a really good third baseman and other guys that maybe played shortstop that would shift over to third. So I never got a chance to diversify in college. Summer ball, though, in the Cape Cod League, I played a lot of third base, and it was a challenge. And I was like, I need to get better at defense if I want to find my way into the first round. And I ended up playing first. You can be the best defensive first baseman in the world, but you're not going to end up in the first rounder unless the bat is just
Torkelson.
total.
Yeah, Spencer Torkelson.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson, Torkelson, like
2 out of those 3, I think, were high school drafts, right?
Yeah.
high
So
school
like the
guys
draft
too.
and
Yeah.
follow. But I do remember the motivation going into my junior year of high school after the Cape, where they would always come out with the rankings for the top 100 or top 200 prospects for college baseball. And there were always names ahead of me that I have imprinted in my head. And there's a couple like
Call them out.
Brian Regira was one, went to Stanford. Austin Wilson was one that I played against in high school and in college. He was always ranked ahead of me. Dominic Ficacello, who's another guy that was SoCal, went to Arkansas. Like there was these names that were just always valued more than myself. And I don't think any of those 3 guys made it to the big leagues, but they were all drafted in the first or second
Were there
round.
some guys above you that you were like, yeah, that guy's next level good? Who was like the big dog in your class?
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there because we'll talk about your draft
we have
class.
to pull up the 2013 draft
We'll have
and
to pull
see.
it.
2013? Okay.
Draft.
Clinton
But so
Frazier.
you come back, you have this incredible experience in the Cape Cod. You play the All-Star game. You're starting to see this validation. You come back and have an absolute monster of a year. You hit 333, 20 doubles, 11 home runs, 56 RBIs, and knowing you personally, the most impressive of all these stats is you had a 408 on-base percentage.
More walks and strikeouts, baby. That didn't happen much in my career. But yeah.
And then that year, you also go to a regional again.
So we hosted a regional. And
And you're balancing the regional, and that at the same time the draft is going on too.
the draft was after the regional.
Okay.
So I had a little bit of a gap there. I remember though, and Mark Wazakowski, who's the head coach at Oregon now, like I give so much credit to. I remember him and I hitting in the cages early in the days. Maybe it was like 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning before school, practice, whatever. My junior schedule was a little bit lighter in spring. And I'd be hitting in the cage and just like venting to him about like, how are these guys, the names that I listed up, how are these guys ranked higher than me? It made me so mad. I felt so disrespected. And he goes, what if I told you that you were already better than them? And I said, really? He's like, you are already more than double what those players ever can be. And I think that belief that he instilled in me in just a one-on-one, just grind session in the cage, him convincing me that no matter what these people evaluating the list believe, he's like, I know that you are a better player than them because I've seen you both play and I know what you can do. That belief took me to a different level mindset-wise as I led into that junior season. And I think I also had some doubt. I had a lot of doubt that fueled me that year. One, it was the list and the rankings. 2, right before winter break happened, you go home, Oregon would hand out like a list of depth charts of like where you kind of rank for the team. I told you guys I had a lot of arm problems, right? I played a lot of third base that summer in the Cape. My elbow was shot when I went back to Oregon that fall. And I remember asking the coaching staff, like I knew I was going to be the everyday first baseman. I knew I was going to be the guy. And I was like, hey, can I please not throw for the fall? My elbow is shot. Can I please rehab for 6 to 8 weeks? Can I just get this right? I'll hit, I'll play defense. I just won't throw. They're like, okay, fine. Like they didn't really question me on it. But then they gave out those rankings right before winter break. And they left first base as a question mark. And I've never been so offended before in my entire life because the coach that my dad allowed me to go play for, George Horton, who I felt like was a second father figure, chose to put a question mark next to first base when he knew he had me, who played every single inning and every single out at first base last year, and then went and was an all-star in the summer league in the Cape and was a draft prospect. Like, you're going to disrespect me like that in front of this team? I was like, my ego was screaming.
Do you think he, knowing what you know now, and I don't know if you've ever had this conversation with him.
I did.
He did this on purpose? This was to motivate you?
I think he was such a realist, though, that he was like, I really don't know what his arm's going to be. But I remember talking to Waz about it. Waz was like, I didn't want to do it. But I remember walking and like saying goodbye to some of the assistant coaches and walking right by Horton's office. And George like ran out and grabbed me. He's like, I just hate that our relationship has gotten here. Like, this isn't what I wanted to do. Like, he felt terrible. And I said, I understand. And I appreciate you. And you know that I love you and I care about you. I said, but you also need to know that I'm your first baseman. And there's nothing that's going to stop that. And I went home and I never worked hard in my life. I took some of that into the next spring. And I just had this chip on my shoulder that eventually led me to have that season in 2013 and then get drafted in the 3rd round.
Yeah, take us to draft day. Well, take us to the last day of your college season before draft day. You guys get how far?
Last
regional?
game of the regional. So we lost game 2. So we won game 1 against Austin P, I believe.
What region? Who's hosting?
We were hosting regional.
Y'all are hosting.
So we were
Austin P. Who did we have? Austin P guy in here. We had an Austin P guy. Did we have an Austin P guy?
Who's the side armor, the underhand, with the Blue Jays right now? Rogers. Taylor Rogers.
Taylor Rogers.
I don't know if he's been on the show, but he went to Austin P. He was there.
Did we not have an Austin P guy?
I don't know.
Where did Zach go?
Zach Neal? He did not go to Austin P.
No, he's Oklahoma.
No. I'll look it up. I thought we had an Austin P guy in here.
Maybe.
So we hosted the regional.
No, Stephen A. something. Stephen F.
Oh, Stephen F. Austin. Hunter Dozier.
Hunter Dozier. Okay, that's what I'm getting confused. I knew we had. Okay, sorry.
Good. Sophomore year, we were number 5 seed, hosted regional, went to Supers, lost. Junior year, we were number 8 national seeds. We hosted. We had Rice. We had University of San Francisco.
Rice was traveling for a regional.
Yeah, they were the number 2 seed in our regional though, so they were good. We lost to Rice, I think 2-1 on Saturday after we beat the 4 seed on Friday. So we had to go through the gauntlet on Sunday, which means we had to beat the winner of the loser's bracket game on Saturday morning.
And then you had to beat Rice twice.
Yeah, so my back was so messed up at this point in time, though. I remember getting an MRI before or after this regional. I remember sitting in the parking lot calling my dad in tears, like, Dad, if the results of this are bad, like, I can't get drafted. I'm done. Like, what am I going to do? We'll go back to that. But I played USF. I remember we balled out. We were waxing them. It was like 11-0 in the 5th inning. They took me out of the game. I remember taking a golf cart to the training center to go get treatment on my back in between games. Played Rice that afternoon or that evening, and I think I went 4 for 4 with 2 doubles and a homer, and we beat Rice. Then we had to go play the Monday deciding game, and we just ran out of pitching. Yeah. So we lost that last game of the regional to Rice, and then my college career was done.
Who did Rice end up playing in the Supers?
I don't even remember, honestly.
Because that would have obviously been who y'all played.
So take us to draft day. The conversations maybe leading up to the draft, where do you think you're going at this point? And then did you have conversations with Oakland before you got selected in the 3rd round, 100th overall?
There was a moment, like we were sitting in my parents' backyard. I don't think we had the family friends. Like we didn't do all that stuff. We were just watching the draft. And there was a thought that I might have snuck into day 1.
Which would have been 1 and 2 or 1 in supplemental?
I think it was 1 in supplemental. Like I think there was like this pipe dream that we were functioning off of that we would have slipped into day 1 potentially with how well the season went. But I think the injury hindered some stuff because like the back injury was noted and people knew about it. But the A's called early on day 2. And I think they offered me the number at that slot and said, if you're available, we'll take you. And I just kind of remember the moment of draft day. Like, I don't remember being super excited. I remember it being surreal, but I remember being more mad than anything. Mad that I had to watch all of those names that I mentally was competing against go on day 1 or go before me in day 2. And just thinking about all those guys that were more valued than I was. And I was like, they have no idea.
Did you pull up some of those names?
Oh, yeah. From the draft?
Yeah, I want to hear them. This is a 2013 draft.
Mark Appel was number 1.
Okay.
Mark Appel.
Did he signed?
Did you clip him in college?
Chris Bryant.
I did book him backside. Chris Bryant was
KB,
so that was the guy. That was him.
KB. Jonathan Gray was another. Like
John
he was
Gray
a guy.
he was him. Oh no, they were in our read. No, we played him earlier that year.
Oklahoma, yeah. I remember I played against Colin Moran when he was a freshman at UNC.
Colin Moran,
was another guy. He was a stud.
He was him in the Cape Cod.
That was
too.
a third baseman.
Yep. Hunter Dozier was in that draft. 8th overall pick. Hunter Dozier was in that draft.
Yep, Hunter Dozier.
So the college guys, DJ Peterson at the University of New Mexico.
I remember the name.
First rounder by the Mariners.
From Arizona, yes.
Hunter Renfroe.
Yes. Remember him?
Mississippi
State?
Or Mississippi State?
Mississippi State, yep. Chris Anderson by the Dodgers. 19th overall pick. He was out of Jacksonville University.
Pitcher, righty? Right-hand pitcher?
Yeah.
I remember that name.
Notre Dame. Eric.
Jagielo.
Yep. New York Yankees, 29th pick.
That was one. I remember Judge went.
Philip Irvin.
I remember
Stanford University by the Reds.
Philip Irvin.
Aaron Judge, 32nd pick.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good pick.
Yeah.
I think Brian Regier went in the 4th round at Stanford.
Michael Lorenzen out of Cal State Fullerton.
I played with Michael. He was on the Cape Cod League team.
Another good pick.
What an athlete.
Corey Knievel out of UT.
I forgot Corey was that draft class. Wow.
Yep,
I played with him in Milwaukee.
Yep.
Hey,
Aaron Blair. Remember Aaron Blair?
Aaron Blair.
He was
I know
a
Aaron
dude
Blair
back then.
So after the kind of, I guess you would say mixed feelings, right? You're obviously very excited. You're starting your professional journey. You're a little bit pissed off. You're not a first rounder. There's guys in that draft that you feel like you were better than, regardless of it. How quickly did you sign? Did you get the money you were looking for? And then how quickly did you start your minor league journey?
I think I asked him for a few weeks. I wanted just to go home after college and regionals just to unwind and give my back a little bit of a breather. So I think I showed up in Arizona in the end of June of that 2013 summer and started like a rehab progression right away. I'll never forget the day though of like they tell you to take a blue van from the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport to where now the Giants minor league complex is. Like they tell you to grab one of those and take it over there. And the driver had no idea where to go. I had no idea where to go. I remember getting dropped off and I walked into the clubhouse with bags on me. I was like, "Hey, I'm your new draft pick." And they're like, "Yeah, just go throw your bags in a locker and we'll be with you in a second." One of the weirdest days of your life, just like going through the physicals, going through signing your contract. I remember I didn't know my social security number, so I think I put the wrong number on the contract at first. So that kind of rattled me. And then I started like a 3 to 4 week rehab progression to get my back right while I was in Arizona.
That was known information when you got signed that your back was a little banged up.
Yeah.
They were going to take it easy with you at the beginning.
Yeah, they had a plan. They did a great job. That's actually where I got really close with, I think now the now big league strength coach, Josh Cuffey. Him and I spent a lot of time together going through that where it's like, you remember as a big leaguer in spring training, you go play 3 innings and you play 5 innings, play 7 innings. I went through that progression right away. And I didn't know what a progression was at that point in college and high school. It was full send or nothing.
So did you get drafted in 2013? Do you end up going to play anywhere outside of Arizona that year?
I think I spent a month in Arizona and then I went to Vermont, which was their short season A-ball team. And that's where they sent all of their college players. Our second rounder, Chad Pinder, was there. All their higher prospects, draft picks from 2012 were already in Beloit Low A. And they sent all their new guys to Vermont to just go get acclimated. And then from Vermont, you go straight to Instruct. So they had a plan in place for kind of what that transition to pro ball looked like.
So you ended up going to Vermont. How did that go?
I stunk. I think I maybe hit 200. I remember I was obsessed with the sand bat. Like I wanted the bat that Barry Bonds used more than life itself. And I remember got these sand bats. I might have hit 2, maybe 3 homers while I was in there. But the adjustment to professional baseball, and remember we talked about third base too. I had to learn how to play third base in professional baseball. And it was a lot harder than I wanted it to be. And I had some really ugly plays there. And I wish Chad Pinder was here right now, one of my really good friends in baseball, because he would tell you the version of Ryan that existed in Vermont was not anyone's favorite version.
And you got a chance to go to Instructs that year?
Instructs, yeah. So that was back in Arizona where you start kind of going through. I remember Ricky Henderson was around all the time too. So like you would get a little more acclimated. It felt like there was less pressure. The results didn't matter as much. You were actually developing.
So take me to, you get drafted, you spend some time in the Arizona League, kind of the progression through your back injury. You get a little bit of taste of outside Arizona, minor league baseball. You get instructs. 2014, you have your first probably minor league spring training, and then you're sent to Stockton.
So that the story of how I got to Stockton was interesting. 2013 was a crazy year. Didn't play well in pro ball. The transition was rough. Came back locked in, ready to compete that spring training in 2014. And I felt like I actually showed a better version of myself as a player, to the point where they took the first, second, and third rounder from that 2013 class, and they bumped us all up to skip low A. So it was Billy McKinney, who's from Texas, Chad Pinder, second rounder,
former teammate of mine,
and then I was a third rounder. All three of us jumped low A and went to join high A, which was Stockton, California, because that's where all the top prospects were. That's where Matt Olson, that's where Daniel Robertson, that's where Renato Nunez was. Like, there was all of their top 15 prospects were on that team, and they wanted us to go be a part of that. So we broke camp in high A. And what's funny, talked about Chad Pinder and I in Vermont. Guess who didn't want to be my roommate in Stockton? Chad Pinder. So I ended up in an apartment with a bunch of other guys that was just we were the revolving door. I think I was the only player that lived in that apartment to stay there all season long. The rest were in and out, whereas there was Daniel Robertson, there was Matt Olson, there was Chad Pinder. They all lived together in an apartment. And Billy McKinney, they were all there. We would all hang out every night together, but Chad made sure not to live with me that year because of how much of a head case I was in 2013, my first year in pro ball.
Well, you ended up having a pretty good year in 2014, 285, 16 homers, 83 RBIs.
Didn't start like that, though. And the manager that I played for in high A, double A, maybe triple A, Ryan Christensen, who's actually been a big league coach for a while, talked to me after that season. He was like, "You don't know this, but you were a game or two away from getting sent down to low A." I said, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Yeah, I was hitting about $180 through a month of the season. And I was playing in the California League, which was high A Stockton. So like we would come to Southern California all the time. I would see my family. And there was a moment we were playing Rancho Cucamonga. I think that was the Dodgers. Are they no, IE was the Angels. Rancho was the Dodgers. We're playing in Rancho. And the scoreboard, my grandmother, rest her soul, she came to the game with my sisters and my parents. And they showed my batting average up on the scoreboard. And it was like $180, $190. And she was like, "Is that number supposed to be that low?" And my
everybody else's numbers are different.
My older sister, who's here, like she was my ride or die.
Thanks,
she was
Grandma.
like, "Grammy, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all." Like that was my mom's motto. It was bad though. And I remember like post game talking to him like I was in tears. I'm like, "This sucks. I hate this. I want to go home. Yada yada. I'll give the money back. I don't care." It was miserable. I was able to grind through it with some soul searching and had one of the most electric second halves you could possibly imagine that year. And I feel like that kickstarted me a lot in my professional career.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting too. And this is kind of about the time our paths start to cross a little bit. So 2015, you talked about having this catching lightning in a bottle at the second half of 2014. You put yourself in a position to break minor league camp and go to double A. And we've talked about this many times on our show. When you're in double A, like you're really starting to like knock on the door a little bit. Did you start to understand that, man, I'm climbing the ladder. I'm in double A. Yes, there is a level above me, but like people get called up to the big leagues from double A.
I don't think we had anyone called up from double A to the big leagues. The only introduction I had in high A, though, was because we were so close to Oakland. We would have guys come rehab assignment with us. So you get the spreads and stuff. You get a little bit of a taste of it.
You remember some of the guys that came down?
Ryan Cook was one, actually.
Yeah.
He gave me my
Who's a
first
good
ever
friend of
pair.
yours?
Gave me a first ever pair of Majestic big league pants.
That's awesome.
We told him we wear shorts for batting practice, so we took the pants off he was wearing. Us, "Here, you can have these." So I was like, "Oh my God, I got a pair of white big league pants for the rest of the year."
Majestics were like, that was
Game changer. I'll never forget folding them up to be able to stretch it. Like that was their happy place, dude.
Yeah.
Josh Reddick was always a guy that he came a couple times, I think, in 2014 to Stockton and kind of fell in love with our group. Me, Olson, Pinder, Daniel Robertson, just like the banter that we had and how close we were. He would find us anywhere that we were during his big league journey, minor league journey. We'll come back to him because Josh Reddick was actually my first ever roommate in the big leagues. I never stayed in the hotel because Reddick was like, you're staying with me.
Guys stay up late and watch wrestling.
Things I can't tell on here that we also did. But dude, Reddick was one of those guys I'll still talk to this day who took Minter's wing and unfortunately got traded to the Dodgers that 2016 season. But we'll backtrack because so 14, 15, you talked about seeing the major league like flow. When I really noticed it was actually the end of that season. We were going to the playoffs and there was some moves that happened in the big leagues and there was a veteran player who was playing well in AAA who was an odd man out. And they sent him down to AA to be with us for the playoff run. And I was like, wow, dude, to think that like one decision that someone makes of a trade or an option or whatever can affect the minor leagues like that. I just started to see it in AA and it was eye-opening, like, oh, wow, we're actually pretty close to what the show could be.
Yeah, we're impacted. Yeah.
We're impacted by decisions that were up there. So 2015 goes throughout and we end up winning the championship. We have some dogs on this team. We felt like the top prospect group was progressing year after year together, and things were looking up for the future potentially for the Oakland Athletics.
Yeah, so this is where kind of our stories overlap a little bit. So the end of the 2015 season, you are a Texas League All-Star. You won the Texas League Player of the Week twice, and you're named one of the best hitting prospects in the Oakland organization. 2016.
Can I backtrack 2015 one more second?
Yeah,
before that, because that's going to lead into it. August, I think we were in San Antonio. Matt Olson and I were road roommates. And we had big plans because he played in the fall league the year before. We had big plans. We were going to book a Europe trip that offseason. So him and I booked a Europe trip in the hotel. One of our teammates just did one and like had the whole road map of how to do it. So we booked it in the hotel. Like, screw it, dude. Let's just book it. We booked a 3-week Europe trip. Matt Chapman was in high A. He was supposed to go to the fall league. Well, I think a week or so later, the farm director comes in town and Matt Chapman hurt his hand. So now it was between me and Renato Nunez that were going to go to the fall league. Oh, no. And Olsen and I just booked this Europe trip, flights, hotels, hostels, all these things a week prior. And I looked at the farm director. I was like, listen, I have to communicate with you clearly on this. Like, Olsen and I just booked a 3-week Europe trip, but I will cancel every single second of it to go to the fall league because baseball and this career, my life matters way more than anything. He looked me dead in the eye and he goes, go on that trip. It'll be awesome. And I said, no repercussions for my career, no punishment, nothing to this. He goes, absolutely not. He goes, go enjoy your trip. Well, there were repercussions of that trip, that's for sure. And I didn't know it in the moment. But that offseason, all my buddies, they got invites to big league spring training and I didn't. And there was a couple of my buddies that went and played in the fall league that year and I didn't. So I went to minor league camp the next season. All my buddies that were always a AA teammate with the year before just won the championship together. They were all in big league camp and they were all destined to go AAA. And I was pretty much guaranteed to go back to AA and I was pissed about it.
Yeah, so 2016, no big league invite. You go on this European vacation with Matt Olson.
Didn't Matt go to big league camp?
Yes.
Matt
he was like a top 5 prospect. He was him, bro. He was going.
And he still is.
He is still him. I love that dude.
So 2016, you go back to AA for 36 games. Clearly pissed off. You hit 338, 8 homers, and then you're promoted to AAA.
I got a ring from that year too because that team actually won the AA championship again. So I got a ring again. Yeah, I was a little mad. I remember having a conversation with the farm director, and I actually had a chance to go up to big league camp, like, you know, just in case.
We call them jigs. We love jigs.
I was a jig, and I would get some ABs. So there was a few moments where I was a jig, and I got in late in the game, and I got some hits, dude. I banged. And I turned some heads a little bit. Like Bob Belvin was like, who's this dude?
Heck yeah.
Why is he so mad? Why is he playing so hard?
Yeah, why is he so angry?
Why is he so mad? Why would he look at me?
This guy's so mad.
I was so mad, dude. And then there was also opportunities to get like extra live at bats. Like Sonny Gray was throwing in the backfields. And I remember hitting a ball off the top of the center field batter's eye off Sonny Gray. And he looked at me like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think you are? You're here for me to feel good, bro. Like, I was like, I don't care who you are, what we're doing. I'm
Joey Wendell did that to me.
Joey Wendell?
Joey Wendell.
I played with Joey Wendell.
T-Rex arms.
Yeah, dude.
You can't get inside.
I was like, I'm gonna make this guy look stupid on a breaking ball. I threw him one here. I was like, God.
I love Joey Wendell. What a human being. So yeah, I got back to sent back to Double A. Was pretty pissed about it. Had a conversation though with the farm director at the end of camp when he finally told me I was going back to Double A. So I don't know what you guys think my response would have been in that moment when the longtime Keith Littman, been there forever, very respected, looked me dead in the eyes like, hey, we just don't have room in AAA. We had some Rule 5s. We had some stuff. And he's like, we're going to have to send you back to Double A. What do you think my response was?
Probably go kick rocks.
I said, I know. I said, I already know. And I appreciate you letting me know, but I already knew that. And watch what I do. Like that was the conversation. And I think he tried to explain himself. I was like, Keith, you're good. Yeah. I appreciate you letting me know, but I know. Go watch what I do. He came and saw me in the Texas League 4 weeks into that tear, and we were sitting in the dugout in San Antonio. And he was like, I just want you to know, I'm working to get you some live at-bats or to get you some at-bats in AAA. We're trying to maneuver the roster. We're going to get you there. And I was like, Lip, I appreciate it, man, but I don't care. Yeah. Wherever I'm at, I'm going to dominate. And at this point in time, I'm playing for the team that wants me. So whether I get traded or whatever, I'm playing for the team that wants me because they're going to get a hell of a player. 2 weeks later, I was back up in AAA. First at bat in AAA, hit a triple.
Boy.
And I was just on fire.
But Sacramento?
No, it was Nashville, actually.
Nashville.
Oh, wow.
So we had a lot of fun in Nashville. I think I was there for 8 weeks, maybe.
Sounds.
Well, that year you get the invite to the Futures game. You're the only representative of the Oakland A's to go to the Futures game in San Diego. What was that experience like? And what was that kind of... Take us into that phone call that told you were going to the Futures game, considering everything you had just gone through, the fact that you were very upfront with them, and the fact that I will skip this European adventure to go play in the Fall League. Baseball is what I want to do. No repercussions. Clearly there was. You don't go to big league camp. They send you back to Double A. You have this conversation. There's no room for you in AAA. You get a chance to go to AAA. You dominate. And then they're like, hey, by the way, you're going to the Fall League, or you're going to the Futures game. And it's in the state of California where you're from.
Yeah, that was wild. I was in Iowa City, Des Moines, Iowa, where the Cubs AAA team is. Yeah. That's when I got told. That was a very surreal moment, finding out that it was part of me thought I was getting called to the big leagues. When they kind of pulled me aside to say something, I was like,
gave you the tap on the shoulder.
Is this my big league moment? Nah, just Futures game. Damn it. Okay, fine. I'll go to the Futures game, whatever. Yeah. I kind of knew, I didn't kind of know, but I had a feeling because all the guys that were on the AAA team that were top prospects, dudes knocking the door, they've already played in it. So I think it was just an opportunity to...
And who were those? That was Olsen at the time?
Olsen, Pinder, Nunez.
They had already played in the
Chapman
Futures.
up yet?
Chapman was in Double A.
Okay.
I think he came up to AAA after I got called up, but he jumped from his first year getting drafted, jumped from A ball to Double A to go play playoffs because they had some injuries. And I was a wreck when Chapman got drafted in 2014. I was in Stockton. They just drafted a first round third baseman. Oh my God. Now I got Matt Olson. I got Matt Chapman. I'm competing against these two guys. I'm done for, dude. I'm going to go from prospect to suspect so quick that I'm not going to exist anywhere near this place.
We're all laughing because we've all seen that. We've all been in the room.
Yeah.
That, you're as an amateur athlete, you're like the draft. And then after you get drafted, the draft is awful. Because you're in there. I remember, didn't you guys ever play with Tyler Holt?
No, but I know him.
Dude, this guy, we draft Tyler Naquin in the first round 2 years after we drafted him. And he's like, what the heck? He's like a left-handed version of me. I'm already here. It was just, it was so funny.
It's so funny when that happens because I've seen it so many times too. And I'm sure it happened to you at some point in your career too. You're like, right-handed reliever out of University of Texas. Why? I'm already here. Tell us about the experience in the Futures game. You're in San Diego, not far from home. I know your family's down there. Clearly, if you're playing the Futures game, the team believes that you are the future, or you're part of their future. Tell us about that experience. Tell us about how you did, and tell us about some of those names that were in that Futures game.
Okay. First off, the opportunity to go play in the Futures game is special. I felt like that was...
It feels like an all-star game.
If I remember going to one of the parties, because I think the Futures game was on a Sunday, then the Derby was on Monday, and then the All-Star game was on a Tuesday. I remember playing the game Sunday, and then my wife and I, my now wife, she was with me. We just started dating that year. So she went on this journey for me of like minor league camp of not knowing what baseball was, to Midland, Texas visiting me, to Nashville, which is so sick. We can stay here forever. To then like the Futures game when we were in San Diego, where like that was the first time her parents met my parents.
Really?
Was in Petco Park. And I think I met her parents once or twice before that. But at that point, they were just kind of following the player. They didn't know me as a person much. So we all came together in San Diego. And I remember going to one of the parties and like, rest his soul, Jose Fernando's walking by. Giancarlo Stanton is there. All these guys. I'm like, oh my God, why am I here? David Wells was walking around.
Boomer.
And I walked up to him and I was like, Mr. Wells, sir,
Excuse
like it's
me,
such a
Mr.
pleasure
Boomer.
to meet you. And I started like, I was like, I just played in the Futures game today. Like, I'm just such an honor to meet you. He opens up like his jacket pocket, pulls out a warm beer. He goes, here you go, kid. Hand me a beer. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like this is so cool. Like, and just that party, everything that happened was surreal. The game itself was one of those moments, and actually this was one of my eye-opening kind of reminders of where I came from and who I was. I wasn't him. I wasn't a top prospect. I wasn't the first rounder. You walk into the home clubhouse. We were USA team, so home clubhouse in Petco Park. All these studs, Josh Hader's on this team, Alex Bregman, Dansby Swanson, all these dudes are on this team. David Dahl, Hunter Dozier's on that team. And like their lockers is just stacked up with just stuff. All this gear, all these sponsorships, and I got nothing. I'm like, this is interesting.
Sounds like you need a new agent.
I think so. I was at a bar in Nashville right before that with Matt Olson and Josh Reddick. And guess what Josh Reddick told me? You should get a new agent. Yeah, because I didn't have any of those sponsorship. I was like, guys, I haven't been a player. Like I haven't been the guy ever in my professional career. Like maybe this is my shot. So you play the game, and Alex Reyes was a top prospect for the Cardinals at the time. He started that game. And I think I was hitting fourth or fifth.
And he was nasty.
Yeah, dude, nasty. So I think I faced him in the first, second inning and had a double down the right field line or left field line. And this was the first time they put blast motion on the knob of the bats.
Okay.
He threw 101 mile-an-hour fastball low in with 2 strikes that I hammered on the left field line for a double. And I think I had the fastest bat speed in that entire game, just because you had to swing fast to catch up with 101.
Yeah.
I think I had a hit later on the game. I think I walked and I struck out. So I went 2 for 3 with a double, a single, and a walk in the Futures game. And I showed out. I DH, so I played the whole game.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is unbelievable. I don't know if we won that game. I might have lost it, which maybe why I didn't get the MVP. But I remember just playing in a big league stadium. I remember the lights coming on. The game started around 4:00, and half of the game, all of a sudden, the big league lights turn on. And you're like, I can see everything.
Yeah, like and I think Petco was one of the first ones with the LEDs.
And I was like, dude, you can see every lace on the baseball. I always had really good eyesight, but when those big league lights turn on, you're like, I've never seen anything like this. Minor league lights are about 100 feet lower and a lot less bulbs there.
4 of them.
Yeah, dude. But like, it was one of those moments like, oh my gosh, this is it. And for some reason in those big moments, I had a slow heartbeat and I was able to just execute what I was trying to do.
Did you meet anybody in that Futures game? Like, one of those guys that you just talked about, but did you meet anybody there that kind of, maybe just through conversation or just learning about them made you understand? You're like, they're just like me.
Did you find this story or was that just a genuine question?
That was a genuine question.
Wow.
That's a real question.
Hitting coach for that team, Jim Thome.
Oh yeah.
So
Big Jim.
Jim Thome was there.
Oh, I know him.
Uncle Jim.
Jim Thome was there, and the kindest human being you ever met in your entire life.
The best.
The absolute best.
And I remember there was a video of myself hitting BP. It was me, David Dahl, Hunter Dozier, and I think there was one other guy that was in our hitting group. And I think there was an article written that I hit like 20 out of 27 pitches out for a home run. Just peppering the second, and if there's a third deck in Petco Park, just peppering it. Went on a tear. And Jim Thome was like, wow, something sounds special coming off that bat, kid. Like, he was just so kind. We talked hitting forever. And I remember when I got called up, one of my first ever road trip was to Cleveland.
Yeah.
And they were retiring or putting him in the Hall of Fame.
They were doing the statue.
They were doing a statue for him in 2016. And they were giving out a bobblehead. I remember asking the clubby, because apparently you can do this in the big leagues. Someone told me. I asked for a Jim Thome bobblehead. And I saw Jim Thome in the tunnel underneath. And I asked him to sign it for me. And he remembered who I was from the Futures game. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is real life. I think that was my welcome to the big leagues moment.
Dude, and that guy too, man, like you talk about, we were in here earlier talking about we've talked about Albert Pujols and some of the great hitters, right? And I think Jim Thome was one that gets overlooked. Like that dude hit 600 homers.
And he's the nicest guy in the world.
600 homers, okay? No, the reason I asked that, and obviously Jim Thome is like he's the best, dude. And you talk about first ballot, Hall of Famer. I mean, just unbelievable, right? Like not a better guy to represent the game of baseball. And obviously like the impact that he had on you, just like a genuine conversation. I had a little bit of a situation with him too, where, he was at the ballpark in 2014 and I was coming off the field. I just got in the save against Texas and he just looked right at me. He's like, "Hey man, you're really good. You're gonna have a great career." And I was like, it was like one of those moments where you're like, "Do you mean that?
Are you
like,
sure?"
Really?" And I was like, dude, I mean, I was so blown away that a guy of this just magnitude just not only acknowledged me, but acknowledged the fact that like, "Hey man, like
He validated
you're a freaking
you.
player, dude. Like you're a player, man. Like act like it." And I was like, man, I never forgot that. So, but so like I ask you that because sometimes I think, us as players, you get into these situations that you'd never thought you'd be in, right? Like when they kept sending you back to AA and you're like, dude, they can't even make a spot for me in AAA. And then, they just send me on this like trip to the futures game, which is like cool, but I'm sure in the back of your mind, you're like, well, the only reason I'm here is because Olsen played in it last year and, this guy got hurt or whatever. And then you get there and you start talking to this quote unquote top prospect, right? And you're like, I don't see it. Like I'm like, I can do that. I can do that. And then they're like, man, how do you hit like that? And you're like, you talking to me? Well, you're the guy. I'm just here.
So I was roommates with Matt Chapman when I went back to AA in 2016. Him and I lived together. I remember playing catch with him every day. And he would tell me, he's like, dude, if I had the same confidence that I had in the batter's box I'd do on defense, he goes, I would be unstoppable. Like he knew he had that. And he was like, if I could channel whatever you're doing in the batter's box right now, if I could channel some of that into what I'm doing, he goes, I'll be in the big leagues tomorrow, because he knew his glove was ready. He knew his baseball IQ was ready. It was always just the bat that he was trying to refine a little bit. And I always feel so fortunate for that 2016 season because it changed my entire life. It probably bought me my entire big league career, just showcasing what I was capable of. And I don't want to jump too far ahead because I know where Kev wants to go next. So let's talk about how 2016 even came about.
Okay, so you mentioned you played in San Diego in the Futures game, which coincides with the Major League All-Star break. So you're in the state of California, and we talk about how baseball has kind of 2 degrees of separation, right?
Yeah.
So
Was Courtney at your house that day?
yeah,
She drove up with me
Yeah.
from San Diego to LA, and I got to spend a day or two with my family. And actually, I think I just bought the house in Simi with my sister.
Yeah.
So I was staying at that house when she had her oldest son now, who's going to be 11. And like, I got to go be with my family for a couple days. And Kevin's wife's birthday, Amanda, was actually in the All-Star
happened to
break.
be over the All-Star break. And I was playing in Toronto at the time. And where were we opening? We were opening in Oakland. So
nice.
me and my wife, we had no kids at the time. We flew from Toronto back home to Southern California for the All-Star break, spend 4 days there. And then we were going to fly up to Oakland. So he happens to be in town for the Futures game. So it's my wife's birthday on like a Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
July 13th. It's Wednesday. So I invite him over to my house and he comes over for my wife's birthday. And do you want to tell him what the conversation we had before he left was?
Well, so I trained with Kevin that whole offseason, and I feel like that was an unlock for me. Being able to hit with him, being able to lift with him, I felt like I was competing against this bigger than life figure in our area because he was a guy that was an underdog, D2 guy, got drafted, was now a major leaguer, and like pretty substantial one for a Blue Jays team that was deep in the playoffs every year. I had a chance to train with him all of a sudden every single day. And the banter that we would have in competing, like all I wanted to do is lift more weight than Kevin. If I could just outlift Kevin, I wanted
It's not that
that.
hard.
No, it wasn't that hard.
That's back when we were moving weight though. Like, and I remember it was just like that inner dog in me that just wanted to just beat the person next to me. And him and I competed that entire off season, which was so fun. Led to that conversation where I think he finally like big dogged me a little bit and was like, "Welcome to my show pad. I can afford this because I play in the big leagues." He didn't say that, but you just like feel the energy and like, I'm still making less than $1,000 a month. Like, hello,
You
Mr.
had already been to my house.
Hello, Mr.
before.
Pilar, sir. Thank you so much for having me in your home. Like, it was one of those moments.
Where were you going back to? So I remember. So
El
this
Paso.
this was a Wednesday. Thursday was the last day of the All-Star break. So I was probably going to leave Thursday and fly to Oakland. You had to leave Wednesday during that party because you were flying to El Paso. I walked him to the door and I told him, "Don't call me till you're in the fucking big leagues." And then I closed the door and he walked out and I didn't think anything about it. I got on my plane and I flew the next day to Oakland. We started the second half in Oakland. And what happened?
So I went back to El Paso. I think I played in 2 games because the AAA second half started the day earlier.
Yeah.
So I think
I think you played one game.
Okay, you're right.
One
No, I
game.
played 1 game. And that game, there was a ball that I hit back to the pitcher. Had a couple hits too, but I hit the ball back to the pitcher and I kind of dogged it down the first baseline. And I got called in the manager's office post game. And I got aired out by the manager, dude. He's like, "You can't be running like that. If that's the example that you're going to set, then we're not going to play you. You're benched tomorrow. You're not playing for me. And if you pull that shit in front of Bob Melvin in Oakland tomorrow, then you're going to get set right back here." And I went, "What'd you say?" He's like, "You're going to the big leagues, kid." And I was like, my heart stopped, dude. My heart stopped. And I made 3 phone calls that night. I called my parents. I called Josh Reddick. And I called Kevin Pillar.
That's hilarious.
And I was like, "I'll see you tomorrow in Oakland." I told my parents, I'm like, I hope you got time because I'm debuting tomorrow against the Toronto Blue Jays. And I'll never forget, like my sister, brother-in-law is here right now. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she came up there. My parents, they came up there. My best friends and his girlfriend came up there. And I didn't know how to do field passes. I didn't know that was a thing. So Kevin actually got my brother-in-law and my dad field passes to come on the field. And I remember it was him and I hanging out right after our batting practice, behind the turtle, talking to our families. And like Kevin kept telling the story about the conversation him and I just had a couple days ago about like, couldn't call me until you got to the show. And I
waited 48 hours to give you a call.
I'll never forget that, dude. Like I remember walking into that stadium just like, I cannot believe I'm here. It all happened so fast.
And this is the Coliseum, right?
Oh
Still
yeah.
in the Coliseum.
Odako.
And who did you face that day? I had it. Was it Hap or Stroman?
Stroman.
You
I faced
faced Marcus
Stroman day one.
day one.
Show.
I struck out my first at bat ever
He's
to end the
nasty.
inning. And I remember like dropping my hat or my helmet and my bat and walking to third base. And yonder Alonso runs out with my hat and my glove. And he goes, "Welcome to the show, kid."
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, one
okay.
of many that's going to happen in your career.
Yeah, pretty much. But like that was my rude introduction. I think I went 0 for
Stroman's
3.
not a bad one to get your first one off of. That guy was nasty.
Dude, he was nasty. The backdoor 2-seamers, the 2-seamers in, and then the slider off of that. He was gross. And not to mention, like everyone hated him for the most part.
Yeah.
And I didn't hate anyone because I was just so happy to
He
be
was.
there.
Was he one of those guys, Kev, that like
We talked
if you
about
were
on the
if
show.
you were on his
Yeah.
team, like you freaking loved him, and
Oh,
if you
yeah.
played against him, you're like, dude, if I
had my-
get him, I am pimping it so bad.
Yeah, I had my moments even as his teammate. You're like, what are you doing, right? But when it came to and he had his whole mantra, height doesn't measure heart. I'm the short guy. I'm this underdog. But I'll tell you what, when it came to shove, when you wanted a dog on the mound, in the biggest moments, and you talk about a little guy, big heart, didn't give a shit what the moment was. You wanted that guy on the mound. So yes, he was everything that you thought about him. Like you hated him as an opponent because he had this swagger and this confidence that was borderline arrogant that you just same way. Like, and I don't think I got a chance to face him. I got a chance to face him when we were teammates together with the Mets, like on a backfield.
Oh, that's right.
And I hate talking about this. And I hope to get Stroman on here one day, but I did clip him and I pimped the shit out of it because he deserved it. He needed it, right? And he's one of those guys, if I ever got a chance to face in the big leagues as an opposing player, like if I would have like had success, I would have pimped it. I'm sure if he would have punched me out, he would have pimped
I
it.
had to let you know.
But he was definitely one of those guys where you loved him and you revered him as a teammate, but you could also understand why everyone hated him. And I think ultimately part of his downfall of his career was when the stuff wavers a little bit and you're not that same like high velocity, high spin, like nasty guy, and everyone wants to get you, eventually it's going to catch up to you. Like when you have this humility in your career and the stuff wavers a little bit, not everyone's out to get you. Like I always used to tell him this, like, buddy, I know your stuff's really good and you're going to get a lot of people out, but you have to understand when teams come into town or we go into town and your name's one of those 3 starters, the whole team has you circled.
Yeah.
Like everyone is going to give you their best effort, right? If you could kind of fly under the radar a little bit and like have this level, like Kluber.
Yeah.
Perfect example. Obviously a different class of pitcher than Stroman, right? But like, I didn't have this animosity. I wasn't like, I'm going to kill Kluber, right? You're like, he's nasty. He's good. I respect him.
He didn't give anybody any like bulletin board material.
No.
Stroman but also too, there was a lot of guys that had Kluber flu. There was a lot of guys who were like,
you're right. The case of the ace. We call that the case of the ace.
Case of the ace. Yeah, we call it the Kluber flu.
All right. So anyway, sorry. You face Stroman your first day. You go 0 for 4. You play third base. You play great third base. I'll never forget. And obviously, he's standing right outside right here. I think what people don't maybe understand too is his sister is married to my childhood best friend since I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
So during your debut, not only is your family there, your dad, Pat, that I know really well, and your mom, your sister, Caitlin, who's outside here, but my childhood best friend from since I was 3 years old there. I remember coming up in Oakland, weird. You go up to that second level. I remember like, I don't even remember if we won or lost, whatever, but I just remember, I don't even want to say taking time out of my day because I wasn't busy. I was on the road, right? But I just remember knowing the feeling of having my major league debut, having my family there. And I know you went 0 for 4 and I went 0 for 4 in my debut, but just remember coming up there and just like giving you a hug and being like, dude, you're a major leaguer, like letting your family, and I know your dad, and being like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's just 4 at-bats. You know, he's been 0 for 4 before, but your dad's probably thinking, oh my God, he waited his whole life. He ruined his opportunity. But like going up there and just being like, it's going to be okay. Like he's a major leaguer.
I don't remember you seeing them post game. Did I see you post game too?
Yeah, we went upstairs. Kind of by like the second level where like the Raiders locker room was, like where the family waiting room was. And I just came up there and just like said hi to everyone. Like, it's going to be okay. Saw Jason, my boy, like but I remember specifically doing it, not for you, because we saw each other before the game, but I think it was for your dad being like, dude, it's going to be okay. Like, this is the big leagues. Like, the guy on the mound drives a nice car too, man. He's really good. Yeah. It's going to be okay.
I learned that quickly.
And you talk about a quick turnaround. Let's talk about day 2 in the big leagues. I'm there for it. You're facing R.A. Dickey throwing the knuckle puck up there.
Is that the first time you ever faced a knuckleball?
Yeah, honestly. To backtrack, there were 2 moments that I remember outside of the yonder moment in game 1.
Yeah.
There was a ground ball that Josh Donaldson hit me that was probably 110 that caught me, and I turned a really big double play to end the game, or end the inning, I should say. And one of those moments, like, oh my gosh, I'm playing third base in the major leagues, and I got Edwin Encarnacion, Jose Bautista, Josh Donaldson, Kevin Pillar, who's really good at pulling a baseball on the ground. Like, there was a lot of guys that were trying.
The Toronto Blue Jays in 2015 weren't afraid to get the head out.
No, that 2016 lineup.
Those right-handed hitters were thinking third base or nothing.
I was scared to death. And I remember making that play. And then I also remember hitting a baseball, might have been off Stroman. I hit a ball hard in the 5-6 hole that Josh Donaldson dove, grabbed, threw me out. And I was in the dugout talking to Reddick about it. I'm like, man, that used to be a hit in AAA. And Coco Crisp leaned over, goes, no, Reddick said this, sorry. Reddick goes, well, we can always send you back. I was like, so Reddick signed me a bat that offseason of 2016 after he got traded to the Dodgers. Him and I hung out a ton after the playoffs were done. And he signed me a bat and wrote that on there. We can always send you back.
That's hilarious.
One of the anchor moments of like my career that I'll never forget. And he was always so great to me. Day 2 of the big leagues, though. All right, Dickey, knuckleballer. Go watch video, do whatever you want. There's no approach. Yeah. It's wiffle ball. And I think it was the first at bat.
Do you think there was some freedom in that? And you talked about, I love that you said wiffle ball, because you talked about
that early on.
You talked about going to the up to, Ventura, Ojai area with your dad playing wiffle ball. Like, do you feel like after going through that emotional sort of roller coaster of everything that's got you to the big leagues, facing Stroman, going 0 for 4, but then just like you're a big leaguer now and like you go in a game plan and you're like, you know what? There is no game plan. Like, let's just go have fun. Like, does it take you back to those kind of moments of just playing wiffle ball with your dad?
Yeah, I liked the competitive nature of it because you just I was watching really, really good big leaguers look silly against a pretty simple pitch. And that simple pitch had no predictability to it. And I think that's what made it beautiful, and how R.A. Dickey could almost locate a knuckleball and change the velocities of it. So what's funny though is like I went this at bat. Maybe it was 2-2 or 3-2. He threw me one of his slower knuckleballs, and I think that helped me a lot. It like bought me time to see it, track it, and just kind of scoop it. I think it was the low 70s that I finally clipped, and it was a 3-run home run to left field for my first ever major league hit.
And you better believe you know how high that wall is in left center field?
It was straight my left field.
You
were nowhere near that ball.
I know,
Don't
but
make
I
this
thought about
you.
it. I was like, I ain't letting you get a hit. I'll take that.
He
thing
did tell
back.
me, he's like, if you want your first major league hit, don't hit the center field.
100%,
I will catch it.
100%.
Auto catch was in full.
Yep. There's
full
no
send.
fly zone. Well,
Yeah,
the Eagles, no fly zone.
Yeah, he was but like that was a moment for me where it was like, oh my gosh. And I got
how crazy though. Like how crazy is that to look back on now, to think that your first major league hit not only was a major league home run, a 3-run home run, it came off a former Cy Young Award winner in R.A. Dickey and a knuckleball where like you really can't even game plan.
I think he offered to sign the ball for me post game too. Like he had such wherewithal. He had such.
Do you ever? I don't know him personally. You do. I've heard he is the man.
He's a peach. We're gonna get him on this show, and it's gonna be. And one of my most favorite things about you is your laugh. Like you laugh, and this guy's gonna make you laugh the whole show. Like he is like. When I was in the big leagues with him, I like, and I don't know, and this is a perfect kind of thing for you too. Like, how old are you when you made your debut?
24.
So I was 24 years old too. You?
23.
23.
You're bad.
And even though I was 24 years old, I still felt like a kid, man. Like I still like was calling my parents, asking them how to like do things. And I was playing with R.A. Dickey, who was like a grown man. He had he almost had like kids my age. It was like playing with my dad, and he was just so funny on the bench. It was like this humor that you could only get from like an old man who's still playing baseball.
I do remember one of the things about RA is whenever we would play Toronto, none of our, how like when you play another team, like all the players, they kind of like chat and all this stuff. None of the players went and talked to RA. All the coaches went and talked to RA because all the coaches played with him in the minor. Yeah,
same age.
Yeah, they were all like, "Oh yeah, we got drafted together." I'm like, "You guys got drafted together?" Like, it was hilarious. Yeah,
I think he was drafted in, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was drafted in 2001. Like I graduated in elementary school in 2000, so we were playing in the major leagues together. It was unbelievable. He's a peach. He's an absolute beauty.
That's funny.
But yeah, so you said he offered you to sign the ball. Your family's still in town.
I don't know if I took the offer. So like there was a moment with the home run though, going back to the dugout, where the A's, they were so great. They made like a hologram like card that they were giving out to fans, and they saved me a couple boxes of it, and I still have a ton of them in my house now, where if you would like move it, it goes from like me pointing my hands to my chest and then pointing my hands up to my parents in the stands, because I knew like where my family was sitting. Oakland really wasn't sold out, so I sold out. I remember pointing both fingers up to them, just like this was for you guys, like celebrating that moment with them. And the funniest part, my dad didn't even see it. Like he was so in the moment of like, oh my gosh, this just happened. Like he didn't even see it. So he saw the replays and stuff later. Then I get the silent treatment in the dugout.
It's so true.
So I walk all the way back and I put my stuff back. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just hit a home run in the major leagues and I just have a hit. Oh my God, what am I going to do?
What would be kind of I'm trying to ask, like, Cody, what would be kind of the equivalent for a pitcher in the major leagues? Would it be getting out of an inning, like completing an inning?
I don't know. That's a really good question.
Because I went over 17 to
you
start.
Did?
I went over 17 to start my career, and I got my first hit. And I asked that because you were only 0 for 4. You played one game. But for me, like getting that first and getting called up to the big leagues is like validation.
Well, then
right?
yours
Like
a homer too
there.
in Houston?
No, just a single. I hit a.
Where was it at?
In Yankee Stadium.
Your first homer was in Houston. I remember that. Okay.
But I got my first base hit after being 0 for 17. And yes, getting called up to the big leagues is like validation, right? But like the feeling of really feeling like I belonged on that field was when I got that first hit. And I was like, I don't know if you felt that same way, but I'm curious, like, what's the kind of equivalent to a pitcher? Is it getting your first out? Is it maybe
equivalent to a first homer or first hit?
First hit, like the validation you get. Because
I'm here
I played
moment.
17. I had 17 at bats. Clearly, I was a major leaguer. I played in like 8 games, right? I made plays. I threw out a runner. Like I did things, but like getting that first hit was like I'm planting my flag in the ground. Like I belong here.
I think for a reliever, I think it's probably like just like a clean inning.
Just getting out of an inning, 1, 2, 3.
But just like it depends. Like if
walking off the mound, probably.
Yeah, where it's like, hey,
the manager's not taking the ball out of your hand.
100%.
Okay.
You know, they're bringing me in to a jam. And I get out of it, or it's like, hey kid, here's your 7th, go get them. And you go out there and you go 1, 2, 3,
walking off the mound.
And you walk off, and they're like, hey, you know, everybody's high five, top stepping you, right? Like they're high fiving you. You know, that's probably the equivalent. You know, you talk about going 0 for 17. You know, my big league debut was against Baltimore, and Jim Thome was in the lineup that day.
Whoa.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be the first. We've talked about it a couple times, so I won't go too much into it, but. You know, first batter was Matt Wieters, and I had him 0-2. I came in for Derek Lowe. Derek Lowe started that game. I came in for him. Had the first batter 0-2, ended up walking him. Next guy was Wilson Betterment. How about that name?
Yeah, Wilson Betterment.
Good player. Walked him. And now it's bases loaded. There's nobody out. I'm like, dude, the game is speeding up. It is going so fast. Carlos Santana's catching. Loves Santana, more than anything. But he comes out. He's like, hey, Papa, you okay? I was like, no, bro, I ain't okay. Dude, I can't feel my feet. Like, all this stuff. And next guy was Mark Reynolds, get a punch out. And like just getting that first out was like, all right.
A deep breath.
Well, this is still the same game. It was just like one of those things where it's like, man, maybe this game is like, maybe this, like, do I have to get 5 strikes to get an out? Like, you talk about like hitting a ball in the 5 hole and it's not a hit anymore. And it's like, man, is getting it just 1 out in this league like so incredibly difficult? And you get that first one and you're like, okay, it's doable, right? Like I can do it. And then, then you just kind of go from there. But then I think they did a good job. They got me right back out there the next day, and I got a 1, 2, 3, and it was like, all right, I can do this. Like it's still baseball.
Hey, do you remember what happened on July 24th, 2016? Does that ring a bell? Versus Tampa Bay.
Oh. Dang, I didn't realize it was that close to the debut. Yeah, that was my first ever walk-off home run against.
You had a walk-off a week into your big league career?
I did. Against Alex Coleman, who was a future teammate.
I think
that's right. We talked about this.
9 days. 9 days into your
big
league
career. Dude, Coleman's a good one to get, man. He was
nasty.
Good.
Yeah.
He was really good.
He was nasty.
He was with Tampa at the time?
Tampa at the time.
So this is before he signed with the White Sox.
Yes.
Yeah, he was closing for the Rays.
He was closing for Tampa, and he was nasty.
Dude, he was a 40 save a year guy.
Yeah. He got me into a 3-2 count. He was throwing the cutter, nasty cutter.
Yeah.
And the first fastball he threw me, and Jake Smolinski tied the game with a 2-run home run earlier in the bottom of the 9th inning, which even gives a chance. And Kendall Graven threw a tremendous game, which even gave us the opportunity to get to that point. I remember that because I've seen the post-game interview. I've done some videos on this, and I'll never forget the 3-2 fastball that he threw me that I hit to left center field. And like the Coliseum was so unique in how the outfield seating was kind of structured.
Yeah.
There was this little walkway deep in left center that was elevated and back a couple rows. And I remember hitting the ball way, way up there for that walk-off home run. I just remember rounding first base, getting a second, just like putting my hand up like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
Dude.
Like it was one of those blackout moments where just like, I can't believe. I think that was my second big league homer.
And it was in Oakland.
Yeah, so it was your second big league homer because you had hit the one when I was there, and I tried to scale that wall. That was it was hit too far.
You scaled a few, but just not that one.
So let me wrap up 2016 real quick. You played 72 games as a rookie. You hit 305, 13 home runs, 37 RBIs. You're named American League Rookie of the Month of September. What is that kind of feeling like? And we've talked about it a little bit. When you get called up to the big leagues, it's kind of like And I see it all the time now when these guys get called up, when we get to call the games. It's almost like you're holding your breath for however long you're up there. And then the season's over. You finally get a chance to exhale a little bit.
Yeah.
What was kind of like that moment when the last game's gone? You look at these numbers, you hit 305, 13 homers, 37 RBIs. You're like, okay, I get a chance to kind of reflect back on all the things. I got to the big leagues. I did this. I had a ton of success. What is that kind of like moment like when you're flying home for the off season? You get a chance to exhale for the first time.
I drove home that off season, and
is this around the same time we moved to Arizona?
I think I drove home. I'm trying to figure out if I got my car. I think I got my car shipped because I left it. I went from AA to AAA, and I left it in AA. So Chapman and one other guy, they had access to my car. And I think finally when I got called up to the big leagues, I was like, all right, send my car out here. I need it. I think we shipped it from Midland to Oakland, and I had it with me. So I drove home that offseason. And there were moments before that where it kind of hit me. It was when I had guys like Chad Pinder, when I had Matt Olson. Those guys debuted, I believe, in that 2016 season as well. September call-ups. Pinder was actually a few weeks after me in August, so I had like one of my closest friends, my best friends with me on this journey. That allowed me to settle in a little bit because had that really high of the first hit being a homer, the walk-off home run, and then like the big leagues was just nasty. Yeah. And I was just grinding, hitting maybe 200, 220, just trying to survive. And then I think I had some familiar faces around me. I kind of saw what was happening around me as well. Like the A's were trading away a ton of dudes. Like Coco went to Cleveland that year. Yeah. A couple of the guys got shipped off, and I was like, okay, like there's a runway. Like, even if I don't play every game, I'm going to get a lot of at bats because the A's are in a stage of their cycle where they want to see what their young guys can do.
Did Sonny get traded that year?
No, he stayed
next year.
I believe that year he stayed that year, and then 2017 he got traded.
Next year he went to the New York.
Yeah. So there was a runway to get a lot of reps in the big leagues, and I don't know when that moment is when it clicked. I think it was sometime the second half of August where I was about a month into my big league journey where I went through a few cycles. I do remember early on, like Marcus Semien taking me to the video room and like helping me game plan against this couple guys. Like, hey, you can go watch all this and look all those numbers all you want. He goes, this is what I do. He's like, I go and look at the last 5 starts for the starting pitcher. I want to see all of his doubles, triples, and home runs given up, and I want to study what pitches are getting damage on. So I remember doing that with him. I would go to the video room after BP and go watch some film and like study what these pitchers are making mistakes on. So now I knew what I was looking for during the game. And I started to settle into that a little bit. The routine started to feel more comfortable. And then all of a sudden, the second half of August, I felt like I belonged more. And then September, I hit the ground running. I get 7 homers that month, hit 3 something.
Yeah, I think I have it right here. In the month of September, you hit 355 with 7 homers.
Like there was a chance I thought I might win like Rookie of the Year. I had that good of a second half where I thought that might happen. I don't know if I think it was Michael Fulmer from the Tigers that ended up winning it. But Gary Sanchez came up as well, and he was the man with the Yankees. But I was in that conversation. I think I got a couple Rookie of the Year votes. I'd have to confirm that to know.
And hold on. I'm kicking myself real quick because I didn't think of this. And it makes me upset because I know Marcus Semien and I know kind of his trajectory of his path. But you're in Oakland at a time. Ron Washington's there?
Oh, Ron Washington changed my life.
How impactful was... And then, this kind of segues into 2017. You talked about a guy that was ahead of you at Crespi, Trevor Plouffe. You guys signed Trevor Plouffe, so you get the chance to move back to first base. You were playing third base. Just talk about kind of the impact that Ron Washington had on your career, because I had Ron Washington as not only a third base coach in Atlanta, but he was also my manager when I was in Anaheim. And I know like his reputation in the game as being kind of this infield guru.
He is a guru. I mean, he's in Moneyball. He's in the movie.
And I mean, you talk about a guy like Marcus Semien. If Marcus was sitting right here, he would say, this guy changed my career. He turned me from a very, no offense to Marcus Semien, but he was a very awful
terrible
shortstop into a Gold Glover.
Yeah, he left the White Sox.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he was the guy could hit. Man.
Yeah, he can
That
always
guy
hit.
can
But
bang.
the knock on Marcus is that he was a terrible shortstop.
Yeah.
And I personally know because I've sat there with Ron Washington. We talked about Marcus's journey about how we started with the basics and then we went to this and then we would evolve to the backhand and this. But I'm just curious to know throughout you talked about having to learn to play third base in the big leagues, you know, really because you kind of came up as a first baseman.
Well, I never played third base every single day in my career ever, because I always played first, third, and DH in the minor leagues. So in the big leagues, I played 76 out of 77 games at third base.
And what was that? How important was it to have a guy like Ron Washington there and the routine that he created for you, the confidence that he built in you, the structure that he's created for you?
He made it feel possible. For a guy that never did it in his career, he made it feel like I was capable of playing third base in the big leagues. Why? Because he simplified down what defense and that position demanded on a daily basis with the fundamental routine that we did every single day. And I think Marcus made it so much easier to believe in it, meaning Marcus Semien.
Because you saw the
I saw he led by example. And even though he wasn't established, he wasn't, an all-star yet, we all kind of knew subliminally what Marcus was capable of. And the career he's had isn't a surprise by any stretch. And I'll never root harder for anyone in my life than Marcus because of what I got to see when he was still developing. And the day-to-day glove work, the day-to-day footwork routine, just the mundane moments that Wash made special. Like, I looked forward to that every day because it was something that was just ours. And it was a moment we could share together every day.
I witnessed it firsthand when I got a chance to first play in Atlanta when he was still the infield coach and third base coach. And I watched the guys do it and I'm like, God, that's got to be so annoying to do every day. But I watched how people, the Matt Olsons, the Orlando Arcias, the Ozzy Albies, the Austin Rileys, and even Marcell Ozuna was doing it a lot that year, but how much they look forward to it. Because yes, it was mundane and like the routine of like doing the same thing every day, but the conversations that were brought out of it, the belief that he brought into you, the baseball knowledge that he shared with you, to the point where I wasn't even taking the ground balls, but I started to look forward to just going out there and just hanging out with him.
It was a place for me to vocalize the doubt that was living in my mind of just the pressure of playing the major leagues, where I could vocalize things that have happened of error, a mistake, or something that I made, because obviously it's going to happen. It was a chance for me to get it off my brain and him always have something, the right thing to say to me in that moment. Like, he was just always so confident of what I was capable of doing. And he always had so much belief in me as a defender in the major leagues, and that no matter what the world and baseball world up to that point had labeled me as, he knew that I could be a really good third baseman in the major leagues. And the A's, to their credit, they gave me a chance to do that. And I felt like the place that you just kind of talked about leading to, which was Trevor Plouffe, like, Ron Washington left after 2016 to go be closer to his wife, who was from Louisiana, to go be actually with the Braves. So he now left that group, and that was really hard for him because he loved that group. Like, Marcus was a second or whatever son to him. And I knew he really loved working with me just because the work ethic and the desire to get better was there every day. But leading into 2017, it was actually on my birthday, January 10th, that the A's went out and signed Trevor Plouffe. And I was so internally rattled because of that. Because my perspective was, I'm going to go be the everyday third baseman this 2017 season until Matt Chapman is ready to become a big leaguer. I knew he was coming. You couldn't refuse him because he was so good. I was like, all right, I'm just going to go hold down third base till Matt's ready to go, and then I'll kind of platoon between first, third, DH, and I'll find my way, whatever. They go out and sign Plouffe because they doubted me so much as a defender at third base, and that rattled me. Now all of a sudden, the guy that believed in me more than anything to be a big league third baseman wasn't there. Yeah. They went out and signed a veteran who was there more for his defense than his offense, because Trevor wasn't the same hitter at that point in his career in 2017, was a great hitter in Minnesota and a great big leaguer. But at that point, his career wasn't known for his bat. It was more like a sure thing defensively. Yeah. And like, you would think if you talked to the 14-year-old version of myself, I would have been happy if you said, hey, in 2017, you're going to be the opening day 3-hole hitter for the Oakland Athletics, but you're going to DH. you thought that you would have been happy with that. And for some reason, mentally, I was just so distraught
in
that I couldn't.
2017, is Olsen there?
Didn't break camp. No, Yonder Alonso was there.
Oh, he's
and
playing
Yonder
first
was
base.
actually an all-star that year. He went ballistic. Got
You
traded
played
from the
with Stephen
A's and
Vogt that
Mariners.
year, right?
Vogt was in 16 and 17. Him and I both lived in Walnut Creek in 17. So him and I would commute into day games a lot together. And I spent a
When
lot
you
of
were
time
playing with him, when you were like, man, like, is it shocking to you to see how well he's doing as a manager?
No, I saw him in spring training this year, and him and I got to share. Like, he was doing his media morning, and then came and talked to us on the radio, and like him and I shared this big bear hug. Like, it was to the point where everyone was like, do these guys know each other? Like, what's going on? And then someone was like, yeah, the former team manager. Like, oh, okay. Like, him and I just talked off camera forever about just his kids, his family, his journey to being a manager, and just how much he loves it, and how he was always destined for it.
With that Cleveland team, they were down 15.
Oh, it's fun to watch.
What he did with that, it was like, I don't care if he's got a year in or 20 years in. Like, that is.
But he did the
remarkable.
same things as a player that he did with that team last year. He just instilled the belief that if we do the right things on a daily basis, we'll end up where we're supposed to go.
Yeah.
And he always did that as a player. And I remember driving in from Walnut Creek to Oakland with him at 8:30, 9 a.m. And we were driving through, like, looking at downtown San Francisco and the skyline and how beautiful. He's like, there's a big league stadium over there, and like that could be our big league experience. He goes, but right now we get to drive to our big league experience. We get to play in the big leagues today. He's like, you ever thought of that? I was like, honestly, Voter, no. I'm about a year, less than a year into the big leagues, and I'm just hoping.
I haven't even unpacked my bag yet.
I'm also thinking about how I'm going to get a hit off this guy today.
I'm also nervous about the lease that I signed because I made the team out of camp, but I could get sent down because I got 3 options left. So, like, no, Steve, I'm not thinking about that.
For it, or do I pay for it? I'm not sure how it works. I mean, I have my experience with Stephen Vogt. I got a chance to play with him in San Francisco after he had come back from the really bad arm injury, and he was backing up Buster Posey. And I mean, you talk about an absolute just peach of a human being, an absolute joy to be around, a guy that understands the game, but there's very few guys in an everyday role that just elevate everyone's game when they're around. They just make everyone kind of better. The respect he had at the clubhouse. I mean, he was just an absolute like joy to be around, someone that I call a dear friend. Like, to me, it's not a surprise that he ended up, and then also knowing Alyssa, his wife, and his kids, and like how much they've invested into baseball. The fact that, as you know, and I know your wife and your kids too, like, it takes a special type of woman to be like, hey, you played this big league. Like, I know my wife too, like, and my wife, like, when my time was over to play, it was like, get your ass home. You're not going to like be a coach now. Like, to Stephen Vogt's credit, his wife has been always very supportive of him being able to stay in that lifestyle, but like rightfully so, because she knew that he would be a great manager of the Guardians organization.
He's a lifer.
Yeah,
I think he's a leader. I just think he was such a leader of men. Yes, where she was willing to lead the house, and she always did that. Like, I remember her kids were always the most well behaved, and I'm sure there's moments that I didn't see because I didn't have kids at the time, didn't recognize them, but like, he was such a natural born leader, and I think the transition was already talked about while he was still playing, that he had a desire for it and he was built for it. It's to your point, Cody, it's not surprising the success that he's had as a manager, and I think he's going to do this for a long, long time.
Man, I want to talk about. Sorry, I want to get to the end of 2017, and just tell you, you hit 25 homers, you drove in 78 runs, and you batted 271, despite the fact that you being very aware of your situation in Oakland, knowing that this young stud Matt Chapman is coming up.
And Matt Olson.
Yonder Alonso is an all-star first baseman that year. And not to mention one of your really close friends who you just went on a European vacation, Matt Olson, is on his way up. The fact that you went out and accomplished that is really, really impressive. But I say that because where were you at that offseason when you got the phone call that you're getting traded?
I was on a bachelor party. I was on Chad Pinder's bachelor party in Miami, preparing to go out for the night, about 10 10:30 p.m.
And very
Eastern.
unexpected. I mean, or expected, like, where's kind of your mind? Obviously unexpected. You're on a bachelor party. You get the phone call from someone in either organization. But at this point, you also go out and have a great year. You hit 25 home runs. You drive in 78 runs, 278. You know these guys are coming, but are you aware enough to understand, like, there's a possibility that I get traded here because Chapman and Olsen are coming?
Yeah, they were both there already, to be honest with you. Actually,
So they got called up that year.
Yeah, they actually were both living at the house that I signed the lease for out of spring training. So I had Pinder, Olsen, Chapman, Daniel Mangden, and myself living in this house in Walnut Creek. And I knew what was happening. I think Olsen actually came up and hit 20-something homers and like I think it was 50 or 60 games. I had to look it up. It was ridiculous. Like I think his pace for a 162 game season would have been, I think it was 70 or 80 home runs. Like it was stupid. Came up, totally covered off the baseball. But I remember there's a moment in Detroit. We were playing late there in a road game against the Tigers, and Bob Melvin called me to his office. And I think I was probably visually showing the signs of stress because I wasn't playing every day anymore because they were getting looks at some of the other guys that just came up.
So Chapman came over to third. Was Olsen playing first, and then Yonder went to DH?
So Yonder was actually traded to the Mariners.
Okay.
So that opened up a little bit more of a path.
They traded him to the Mariners.
Yeah, but Chris Davis,
even though he had an all-star year.
Yes.
Because Olsen came up.
So he was a free agent after that year.
Okay.
So that's why they traded Yonder to Seattle. They were trying to go on a postseason run. So Yonder went up there. Olsen went off. Chapman did well. Defensively was absurd. Just everything that he is still today as a big leaguer. And I wasn't playing every day all of a sudden, and it kind of hit me hard.
Who was DHing?
Chris Davis. Chris Davis was DHing a lot.
Mr. 248.
Yeah, Mr. 247. 247 and 47 pumps. So he was DHing a lot. So there was just like spot starts for me to kind of show up. And I'll never forget this. Bob Melvin called me to his office. He goes, "Who do you think is leading our team in batting average right now the second half of the season?" I was like, "I don't know, Jed Lowry." He's like, You have the highest batting average on our entire team for the second half of the season, but you would never know it the way you carry yourself. I was like, huh, interesting.
Well, put me in the lineup, Bob.
Yeah, sure, true, but yeah, whatever. And my power, like I think I hit 19 home runs in the first half of the season though, and then hit 6 in the second half of the All-Star break. Like I was gassed. But I was still banging. Didn't understand it. Olsen got hurt the last 10 days of the season. Like strained a hamstring or something. So I played first base every day for the last 10 games. And that was the first time I was able to get in a groove. And I played lights out defense, like spectacular defense. Was hitting well, finished the season strong. And I remember having my exit meeting with Bob Melvin. And I told him, I said, Bob, like I know that there's a chance to get traded. Like I had a feeling. I said, but I want to be a part of this team because I can see the direction it's going. I saw the development in the minor leagues. I know how good these players are. And I know that the playoffs in the major leagues for this Oakland Athletics team is coming, and I want to be a part of it. And he's like, completely understand, so on and so forth, whatever. Well, we kind of had these conversations between Olsen, Pinder, Chapman, and I. We're like, Ryan, you got to go lean down and go learn how to play left field. That's the window. Because, like, obviously, I'm not going to beat out Olsen and Chapman. They're the guys. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'll go learn to be a left fielder.
Well, not to mention Chris Davis was hitting 40 pumps a year.
But he kind of had the yips in the outfield, couldn't really throw.
Well,
so like defensively,
he was DHing.
He was going to DH. Yes, so like he was going to DH. Those three were anchored down in all the spots that I've played my entire career. So I had to find something new, and I wasn't, I guess, a good enough athlete for them to think that I could play left field. And also, like I was coming off of a 270, 25 homer year with almost 80 RBIs. There's some trade value.
Yeah.
The A's traded me. In November, I was in Miami for Chad Pinder's bachelor party with Olsen, Pinder, Chapman, all these guys around me, and I missed a call from Billy Beane. Didn't have Billy Beane's number saved in my phone. Why? Because I was a nobody. Wasn't in big league camp. Wasn't a top prospect. And I missed the call, and I heard the voicemail. I'm like, holy shit. I might need to call him back. I might need to, I got to sober up real quick, and I might need to call him back. So I called him back. I was like, "Hi, Mr. Bean. I'm so sorry I missed your call. Like, this is Ryan Healy, like, yada, yada." He's like, "Hey, Ryan, just want to call and let you know, like, thank you for everything. We actually just traded you to the Seattle Mariners. Like, their GM, Jerry DePoto, and, like, their coaching staff and the media, they're going to get in touch with you soon." I was like, "Oh, okay. Like, thank you so much for letting me know. Like, I'm actually in Miami right now with, Olsen, Pinder, and Chapman. And, like, I look forward to dealing with this tomorrow morning." He goes, "No, this news is going to break in about 30 minutes. So you're going to have some conversations." I was like, "Oh, I guess I need to call my agent. I should probably make that call right now." So that was a sobering moment. Standing on the balcony of the Airbnb that we're renting in South Beach, Miami, and spent the next hour on and off of phone calls with the new GM, with the new manager, with media.
Scott
from
Service manager there.
Yeah, with media from Seattle and from Oakland, and I was just like, oh my gosh! And I remember seeing the news break on Twitter, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. So I literally flew home from Florida a couple days later after the bachelor party was done. Like, I'm no longer a teammate with all these guys that I just spent this weekend with. It's wild.
I mean, you've gone through the minor leagues with all these guys. So, I mean, you go through this whole deal, talk to Jerry Dipoto, but is there a part of you that's like, all right, like somebody's making a move because they want me?
Yeah, there was excitement because there was a hole at first base because Yonder was there. Became a free agent. They didn't retain him.
Yeah.
So like I was all of a sudden the starting first baseman for the Seattle Mariners overnight, with Robinson Cano playing second base, with Gene Segura playing shortstop, with Kyle Seager playing third, Mike Zunino's playing, catcher. Ichiro was going to be there as well. You had D Gordon that just made a trade for. Like there was dudes. Nelson Cruz was the DH. Like this was a team that was built to go to the playoffs, and they thought that I was a piece that could take them to that next step. And I went, oh my gosh, I just went from being a platoon player for the Oakland Athletics for the last year and a half to now I am a piece of the Seattle Mariners who's trying to build this playoff worthy team.
Yeah.
And no offense to the Oakland Athletics, but you go into spring training for the first time and you walk into a clubhouse and you see friggin' Ichiro Suzuki for the first time. You see Nelson Cruz for the first time. You see Kyle Seager for the first time. Tell me kind of what your first kind of interaction with those guys were. What kind of your first impression walking into that clubhouse?
Okay, so I'll tell you the bad stuff first. The bad stuff first is that I actually got hand surgery on Valentine's Day of 2018 because I had so much pain in my right hand as I was hitting that off season. I couldn't figure out what happened. I ended up having, it's called a first metacarpal boss, which is right on top of my hand. I still have this like bump right here.
Yeah.
Where every time I would hit at contact, it was just like a knife was being stabbed in my hand. So I actually met a lot of the Seattle training staff, unfortunately, during the offseason before I ever played a game for that team. Flew to Seattle, saw the doctor, went through all this stuff, and then got to a point where, went through this rehab progression for 6 weeks from December through January, didn't get better. So I went, saw a hand specialist in Philadelphia, flew with my dad out there on Valentine's Day, got surgery. So I walked into the clubhouse for the first time with all those legends with a little cast on my right hand. I'm shaking all of these guys' hands on my left hand. And I'm like, what a dope. Like I'm your new first baseman, guys. What's up?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Like you just feel like such an idiot. And I remember that was humbling. That was the bad. The good was during spring training that year, I remember there was a moment where Ichiro, Edgar Martinez, and Ken Griffey Jr. were all sitting on chairs next to the pool table we had in the center of that locker room, talking to this entire group, the spring training group as a team. And I took that picture and I was like, this isn't real life. Like this is my life right now. Unbelievable.
Hold on real quick. Let's talk about Edgar, Ichiro, and Ken Griffey. Let's just throw out a number. How many career hits did those guys have combined? I'm going to say
7,000.
I know.
Scott, it might be more.
Probably more.
Ichiro's got 4.
Ichiro's got 4,000. Yeah.
Edgar's got to be close to 3.
Yeah.
And so does Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah. So
we're talking about
you're talking
10,000 hits. We're probably talking Griffey had 600. Ichiro probably had 2. Edgar probably had 3. Like we're talking about like 1,000 homers here. We're talking about 3 of the greatest hitters of all time sitting in one room. And you're traded from Oakland to be this kind of first baseman kind of piece to this team that's eventually supposed to be a postseason team. And you're sitting in this room and you have 3 of the greatest hitters of all time sitting there talking to you.
I didn't get to enjoy it as much as I probably should have because I was so stressed about getting healthy.
Yeah.
Having the surgery on Valentine's Day, February 14th, which is about 6 weeks from opening day, wasn't ideal. And it was about a 6-week recovery to be game ready, whatever that version of game ready is. Like, I remember I was 4 weeks into the surgery, starting my hitting progression, and like it wasn't feeling great. And the manager, Scott Service, called me in his office, like, hey man, I gotta know if you're gonna be ready for opening day, because if not, we gotta go get a right-handed hitting first baseman for this team to be complete.
Yeah.
And like, I just got traded over here. I do have options left. And last thing I want to do is put myself in a position to not be able to play for this team. So I rush back. I get myself healthy. I hit a couple homers in like backfield spring training, and then I hit one in a spring training game. I'm like, screw it, let's go. I'm ready to go. Like, I'm your guy. Opening day, first baseman. The Indians come to town.
That's right.
And guess who I got to face? Corey Kluber, Carlos Carrasco, Trevor Bauer. Needless to say, I went 0 for that series, and it was very humbling.
You're not the only one.
Went to San Francisco for a couple midweek games, went 0 for that series, and then went to Minnesota for the first, second leg of the first road trip.
It's like 35 degrees.
It was 1 degree. It's 1 degree.
So hear
That's
this out.
also 1 degree Celsius.
No, so hear this out. We play game one. We're up a run or two late in the game, bases loaded, reliever comes in, and I hit a bases clearing double. I think that was my first, maybe second hit of the season, and I was like, this is it. Finally my moment. I feel good. We win the game. I'm like, all right, I'm a Seattle Mariner. I feel really good. It was a day game, so I was like, I'm going to go work out after this post game. I go into the gym, I'm doing my workout, and I'm doing skater jumps, and I have some adrenaline going. And I roll my ankle so bad in the gym post game where I thought I blew it out. Don't laugh over there, okay? This is real life, Mr. wearing a boot on your foot.
Yeah, Kurt's wearing a boot.
So
yeah. Were you doing skaters?
Dude, I thought I blew out. I thought I blew up my ankle. So I had to go wake up Sunday morning, go get an MRI in Minnesota. I hopped on a flight from Minnesota back to Seattle while the team got snowed out for that Sunday game. And then they went on to the next leg of the road trip, and I had to go back home, and I'm staying in my 32nd floor apartment in downtown Seattle with a boot on my ankle. And I'm like, I can't go anywhere. I'm just depressed as hell. And it was a really sad moment.
Man, that sucks, dude. Like, you get to a new team, like, and that's hard. I think that's one thing that people like don't understand. Like, Kevin did it a lot, but like going to a new club, but especially after your first one.
But it's a little bit easier when you're a little bit more established, because the reputation of who you are as a player, who you are as a teammate, who you are as a man, like, precedes you. And the first time was really hard. The second time, the third time was very easy, because I had built up this kind of reputation in the game. Like, they knew exactly who was coming into the clubhouse. I didn't have to like fake it or like pretend. Like, the manager knew, like, hey, pencil you in the lineup, you're going to go play.
Yeah.
You knew what you were going to get. When you're still kind of young in your career, you're still trying to really establish yourself of like who you are. And then you have this freak kind of injury. I mean, it's got to be really hard.
It was really humbling. And I think that whole transition from the A's to the Mariners was really humbling, because you heard this before, like, no team ever treats you like the one that drafted you and developed you. Like, there was just a different level of relationship and love and passion that you develop with supporting staff, with coaches, trainers, players. And like, some of those guys from the A's are some of my best friends to this day.
Yeah.
And when you don't have that support system available to you in your most vulnerable moments, it's hard, because now I'm leaning on a bunch of guys that I would say 75+% of that roster was established big leaguers, and another 40% of that roster was superstars. And I was kind of the new guy trying to blend in.
So this was 2017. Was 2018. Was Robbie Cano still there?
Oh yeah,
dude. Yeah, I mean, so you played with some absolute guys like Nelson Cruz. He might not be in regards to like the Mount Rushmore of baseball. Like, he's not Ichiro.
He's borderline Hall of Fame.
But
though.
Dude, he is. When you talk to other hitters and just people that have played in the game, like, you put guys like Nelson Cruz and Carlos Beltran, Edwin Encarnacion, like these guys that are like David Ortiz, they are anomalies, like absolute anomalies in the fact that they played forever at an extremely high level. And they're baseball savants. Like, you're talking about like perennial all-stars are going to these guys to learn from them.
I think the crazy thing about Nelly Cruz was he hit like twice as many homers, like post 34, than he did like his entire beginning of his career. Like, he had this late resurgence in his career where he became like, where we could consider him borderline Hall of Famer. Yeah.
He was so good. He was a guy, like, as a pitcher, right? Like, everywhere you go, you're having pitchers meetings and you're talking about opponents and all this stuff. Like, I played against Ichiro when he was in New York. I played when he went back in Seattle. I didn't play against the first time, right? Obviously, like, I know, like, in 2004 and 5, like, that guy was like, he was one of the most feared players in the game, but we didn't spend a ton of time talking about Ichiro, right? I've been in, places where like you're talking about Victor Martinez, like some of these, great players. Dude, when we went in to play against like Nelson Cruz or Carlos Beltran, if we had a 45-minute pitchers meeting, we spent 30 minutes talking about that.
Or
dude.
Robbie Cano.
So I loved like the hitters meetings in the big leagues. What we would do is you would watch the highlights of the hitters against the pitcher you were facing that day.
Yeah.
And there's certain names like Nelson Cruz, for one, like you would get to watch his success against the starting pitcher.
just
No matter
clip,
what starting pitcher we
clip.
were facing in any team, any organization, there was always a homer that Nelson Cruz hit off him, and it would just be
there
like,
it is again.
like it was unbelievable to see how consistent the success was that he had throughout the different phases and cycles of his career.
That was one of the things I looked forward to the most at the end of my career. I'll be honest with you.
What?
Sitting in the hitters meetings when I had like this body of work and that I had faced so many pitchers in my career, like depending on what team you were, sometimes they showed homers, sometimes they showed just extra base hits, but like we would go into a series and we'd be facing a team and I'd like look at the starting pitchers and I knew I wasn't going to play because I'd only faced lefties, but I'd be like, these young kids are going to know that I used to be okay.
I will be remembered.
I used to be okay. I used to be decent, right? Because we would pull up a video against like Kluber or something, right?
Yeah.
And it'd be like, I know I'm not facing him now, but I used to face him and I got his ass.
Trevor
And I
Plouffe.
would just sit there silent in the video room like, oh, I wonder whose video they're going to show today. Boom. I'd pop up, clipping him. And I'd be like, that's right, motherfuckers. Like, I used to be all right. I used to be okay.
Trevor Plouffe was always like that, though. He always had like 15 different versions of his swing adjustments that he made over his career. It's like, this is version 27.1. Like it was just like,
This was pre elbow hike.
it was so funny. But to your point though, and I think you actually touched on this perfectly, Kevin, is like your first transition to a new clubhouse when you went from Toronto to the Giants. There's a challenge, and like there's also a lot of superstars on that team, that Giants team in 2019. And I remember you and I FaceTiming when I was in Seattle, right when the trade happened. So it was early in the season, and I was off to a great start that 2019 year. And you were like, dude, I just bought like $300 worth of groceries at Whole Foods, and I literally just got a call that I'm getting traded, and all this food's gonna go to waste. Like I don't know why that was a core memory, but like I know how tough that transition is. And Cody, when you transitioned to a new clubhouse, like you were established, like you were the dude out of the back end of the bullpen for the Indians, from the Guardians for a long, long time. When you went to, Anaheim, like you were known. I wasn't really known when I went from Oakland to Seattle, and I think that I know I struggled with that a lot because I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know what my identity as a player was anymore when I stepped into that locker room.
Yeah. And when I went from Cleveland to Anaheim, I was searching, and I wasn't there long, and I went from there to Minnesota to Texas, Chicago, and it was over quick. COVID kind of helped that, but I think sometimes too, what happens a lot of times when players, either young guys or guys that are looking for like a bounce back, right? Like you signed a couple minor league deals and trying to fix. Everybody's got like ideas on how to fix you, right? It's like, like I want to put my thumbprint on this guy or whatever. But it was really hard to buy into any of that. And I think some of that was my own stubbornness. I think ultimately it's our careers, right? Like we're in charge of them, right? So whatever stats are on the back of my baseball card, I can't blame any of that on anybody else. That's ours. And so when I went to Anaheim, man, I struggled. I got off to a good start, and honestly, Seattle, there was a couple games against Seattle where y'all just like spun me into the ground. Like Jay Bruce like hit a ball through the shift, and I think you came up later, and I think you walked off that game. I was out of the game. Who'd you walk off? Like Robles?
Oh, I remember that.
Like Hansel Robles.
In May
you walk
5th,
off?
2018, you hit a 2-run double walk-off.
Yeah.
Yes, it was extra innings. I think Justin Upton actually tied that game in the bottom of the ninth inning off of Edwin Diaz, dead center homer in Seattle at night, which does not happen often.
Yeah, and I mean, we had a really good team. We just couldn't pitch, and it was one of those things where like I just started spiraling. Like every time I had like something didn't go well for me, like somebody would be like, hey, like I want you to think about this or do this. And I was just everybody was obviously trying to help me. And now that I'm a former player and I have kids now, and like I'm a coach, and I'm on another side of it, right? Like obviously we're talking about youth sports versus the highest level, but there's still a similarity. It's like, hey man, like this is yours, right? Like if you don't want me to help you, like just tell me. And like I think I was like in that in between where it was like, man, I'm looking for something, but I don't know what it is, and I don't really know you, right? Like I don't know this guy that's trying to help me out. And so I think it really just put me in that in-between spot. So, but like some guys, they just do better with that, where it's because maybe they know themselves more, or they have their own guys away from the field. A lot of guys have their own coaches in the offseason now, or their own pitching coach, or their own hitting guy, or whatever it is. I didn't. And so I think I was just like at the mercy. Like I felt like I was in this like tug of war where it was like, no, we think you should do this. No, I think if he does this more, he's going to have success. I think if he does this more, I think if he drops his arm slot, I think if he, sits more coming down the mound, like there's 1,000 things. And, my wife could tell you, man, like I spent a lot of time in front of the mirror doing dry work, dude. I mean, dude, yep. My son, my oldest, he was 2 at the time, living in Newport Beach at Brian Shaw's house. We were renting a house from Brian Shaw and Balboa Peninsula. Awesome, unbelievable place.
I don't hear the negatives yet.
Dude, but I was struggling. And I'm doing dry work in front of this mirror so much that literally my 2-year-old was at the same time, I'd come home from the field or whatever, he'd be like doing the same thing. He's just like, I saw dad doing it. So he's like,
you're like, not like that. No.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, like get your
hand. Oh, that's what it looks like?
Yeah.
No
I'm
wonder
like, is that
why.
what I look like?
No wonder why.
Are you doing me? Like, oh my gosh, man, now I need to fix that. But dude, it was, I mean, we talk about it all the time. Like, you're struggling or whatever. You're standing in front of the mirror with, you talk about look at this like white curling iron
yeah.
or whatever.
I got thousands of videos on my phone.
Like, man, I'm like 31.
3 a.m. waking up in the middle of the night thinking, oh,
I got it.
I think I found my swing. Let me grab this curling iron. I think it's this move, right? And then I go for 4.
The barrel dumper.
Hey, I want to ask you something real quick before we get towards a couple other things in your career. May 8th, 2018, and we talk about the irony of the game of baseball and the romantic side of baseball, the 2 degrees of separation. You got to be a part of Major League history. First Canadian to throw a no-hitter, and it happened to be in Toronto when James Paxton threw a no-hitter in Toronto against the team that I was on in Toronto. You actually caught the final out of that game, a ground ball to third base. You received it at first base. Take us through kind of what you remember about that day. And I will always kind of remember from the other side of it being part of a no-hitter, which you never want to be on the offensive side of a no-hitter. I'll never visually forget you kind of like fist pumping after you caught the ball at first base and being like, feeling like as an offense, like, damn, we suck. We just got no hit, right? But then kind of, when you get removed from stuff from that, when the competitive side goes away, you're like, damn, there's only been like so many no-hitters in baseball. Like, it's kind of crazy that, especially with the lineup that we had to like no-hit someone, is like pretty crazy. But what do you kind of remember about that game? Kind of as the game gets kind of deeper into the game, you're in the field. You're like, man, I don't want to be the one that fucks this up.
I couldn't tell you who pitched for the Blue Jays that day. I have
no idea either.
I couldn't tell you what I did as an offensive player, but I can remember the couple plays that were most impactful as a defender. There was a throw, I think from Seager at third base, where I slid to the backhand side of the base and I caught it up over my head, just kind of creating, like expanding the radius that I was able to cover as a first baseman. Like a lot of pride in that. Like that was a play that saved the no-hitter because it very easily could have been a hit, infield hit.
I remember I hit a bullet in that game to third base. I think Seager dove.
Kyle Seager was a vacuum over there. Don't get it to him.
Good, man.
He was
I remember like I don't know if it was like a little slider or cut or something, but I hit a bullet to third and he dove and threw it out. And I remember because we were really good friends at this point. We were training together the off season. We were like brothers at this point. And I remember like bang bang, and I remember like you kind of fist pumping and I'm being like, that's What's your problem, man? I'm trying to feed my family.
I'm surprised that he kept inviting.
I'm trying to feed my family.
We
You're
used to do a lot of
celebrating me getting out.
We did a lot of Sunday family dinners together when we lived in Arizona because we had no one else, like no other family, no other friends, just us. Like, I'm surprised he kept inviting me over after that, honestly.
Like, you're celebrating this. I'm trying to feed the family. There was no replay at the time. We could have sold it that I was safe.
Oh yeah.
You know?
You were my concern at that time. There was so many moments. I think baseball is so beautiful, and like I think religion just in general gets blended in with the sport of baseball, and so often like just the God nods and the moments that are just like someone had to be articulating this greater than us because this is beautiful. And that was one of those moments for James Paxton and for every teammate that got to enjoy it, was him being able to throw a no-hitter on his home soil of Canada against the Blue Jays. It was just the perfect storm. And Cody, what I was hoping to hear from you earlier was like that a big league moment, like I made it for a pitcher, was going to be the beer shower. And I remember vividly what that shower was like post game, where you put James Paxton, the big league pitchers, through a no hitter in the little
the
cart,
big maple, put him in the little laundry
put him in
cart.
the laundry cart, push him into the shower, and whipped cream, chocolate sauce, beer, anything you can get your hands on, he's gonna get all over him. And like that team celebration was one of those moments of that 18 team where like, this is a playoff contender. This is a team that can go the entire distance. So no matter who leads us there, like we have the bodies to go.
Yeah. I mean, the big maple was nasty, dude. He was so good. And, you know, unfortunately, like he had some injuries that kind of derailed him because he went to Boston, right? He was in Boston when he started having the injury stuff. But dude, he was another guy that you kind of, when you think about like a time period. Yeah, when you think about like a time period though, like he was a guy, I know listening to guys in our clubhouse, like when we were going somewhere that he was like, man, like I hope we miss that guy.
He was a competitor.
Filthy.
I mean, even this year, he's retired from baseball, but he pitched for Team Canada in the WBC, and he pitched really well.
Him and Philippe Amont.
Yeah,
he was like 4 to 5 again.
Yeah. Just shows up every 4th or 5th year and just deals.
I do want to fast forward to something real quick. So you talk about the 2018 season. Was it 2018 season? Your first year in Seattle?
Yes.
2018 season, 133 games played despite the injury you had doing the skaters, 24 home runs, 73 RBIs. I would say for someone that's still young in the game, leaving the organization that drafted, developed him, you've formed relationships and bonds with someone, and then you get traded to a new organization. I would say that's a really, really impressive first year, considering the cast of characters, the Ichiro Suzuki's, the Nelson Cruz's, the Robinson Cano's, D. Gordon's there, Kyle Seager's there, not to mention a guy like King Felix is still there. You know, you made your kind of imprint on there. And I say that to say 2019, and me knowing you personally, someone that at this point in time, we both decided to move our families to Arizona. You know, better opportunity for baseball in the off season, better training facilities. We just felt like it was the right move for both of us at the time. We're training together, and then you go through this, what in the off season kind of started as a back injury that ended up being a little bit more than that.
Yeah. So the journey you and I went on, that, trying to think of what year we moved out there. I think it was the end of 18.
So for me, it was 15, 16, 17. It was 2018 because I was going into my first year of arbitration.
So I bought my place in Arizona during spring training of 2018.
Yeah, it was 18.
And
I moved out there
I moved out there in December. But you and I were hitting with Craig Wallenbrock.
Yeah.
Out in, not Lancaster. What the heck is it called? Valencia area. We were out there all the time. And then Tim Laker, who is now the hitting coach of the Mariners, like him and I grinded all off season together, revamping my swing, because like you read the nice numbers that I had in 2018, but the rest of them are really ugly. Like my doubles were terrible, my batting average terrible, my walk percentage was terrible. I was punching all the time. Like I had some adjustments to make, and I got exposed that year. So I accepted the challenge, and I was willing to make adjustments. And going into that 2019 season, I felt like the most complete version of myself as a hitter since probably 2016, when I was just the man on fire. And I think I led the major leagues in extra base hits 4 to 5 weeks into the big league season. We went to Japan that year, got to see Ichiro retire. Like there were some moments. I wasn't supposed to make the big league team that 2019 season. I think I had just over 3 years of service time with 0 options used. Like I was so fortunate in that regard that when I got there, I stayed there. And awesome. I felt like for the first time in my career in 2019, I was knocking on the door to get optioned because we had Jay Bruce, Edwin Encarnacion, Daniel Vogelbach was out of options and he was going to probably make the team. There was just no room for Ryan Healy. Kyle Seager tore ligament in his hand diving for a play late in spring training. And they looked at me the next morning and goes, "You're going to be our opening day third baseman." I went, "Ho! Okay, that's new." Like,
where is Ron Washington?
Seriously, we had Perry Hill though, who was I would say him and Ron Washington are the best infield coach I've met my entire life. 2 of the best in the game and in the world. And I had the fortune of working with both of them, which is unbelievable how small circle baseball can be like that. But if you ask my wife, that Japan trip was happening early in spring, and I looked at her a few weeks into spring. And I was like, "Honey, I don't know if we're going to Japan." And she was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Babe, I may not make this team." We were
coming off a 24-73 year.
Yeah, we were engaged, and like she was now in this journey with me. 2019 was her first season. She was going to be with me the entire time. And I told her, like, we may not go to Japan. We may end up in Tacoma, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And it was like now the decisions that were being made by my organization about my career affected more than just myself. And like that hurt. But baseball worked itself out. Kyle ended up getting hurt, so I was the opening day third baseman in Japan. And I started off hot. And I continued.
You hit a home run in Japan.
I did hit a home run in Japan. I think it was off of Marco Estrada, actually, former teammate. And I just felt like the adjustments that I made with my swing were starting to translate. And extra base hits, the line to line. Like there was a game in New York early that year where I think I went 4 for 5 with 3 doubles and a home run. And like, I just felt like I arrived. Like this was like my comeback story from a rough 2018 where yes, I hit homers, but I did nothing else. I was going to become that complete version of the player again because the Mariners were in full rebuild mode. Yeah. Edwin Diaz, Robinson Cano, Gene Segura, Nelson Cruz, all these dudes were gone. And it was full rebuild mode. And I was like, I could be a part of this rebuild for the Seattle Mariners and be a cornerstone early on piece for them that saw some of the potential in 18 and was able to grow further. And then the injury happened. And I was actually in Texas playing the Rangers. And I remember there's a game, and I think I was facing, it wasn't Cole Hamels. There was another lefty that I was facing.
Derek Holland?
No, he was gone at that point.
Martin Perez.
No, not Martin Perez.
A lefty?
Guy. Yeah, lefty.
In 2019?
2019, we had to look it up. But I remember facing him, and I grinded out like a sacrifice fly late in the game, and I remember came back in the dugout and I couldn't stand up. Like my back was shot. And they took me out of the game, and I was in the clubhouse getting an IV, getting needles in my back, trying to do everything I could. And I was like, no, it'll be a couple days. It's back spasms, and I'll be fine. They called me that night when I was in the hotel room, and they're like, we're going to put you on the IL. We're going to fly you home tomorrow. And I chewed out the athletic trainer. I was livid because I knew what that meant. Like I knew it just bred opportunity for the next guy. The Wally Pitt moment. And I was like, no.
Who was the next guy? Do you remember?
Austin Nola. Austin Nola was a guy. I don't know if he came up right away, but he came up later on that year and ended up taking over first base and like created a really quality big league career for himself. Yeah. Could catch, could play first, anywhere in the field. And I always say like every big leaguer's debut that happens was bred from opportunity from someone else getting injured or underperforming. And like mine was Billy Burns. Like Billy Burns struggled in the big leagues and I took his spot in the big leagues. Like I feel like I created Austin Nola's big league journey and like whatever he did with it, he did. And he had a great career because of it. But that ended my tenure with Seattle because I ended up going on this journey of, flying back to Seattle, going and seeing a back specialist. I had spinal stenosis. So the L4, L5 was really narrow and pinching the nerve. They wanted to cut me open and do surgery. Like, I'm not doing back surgery and then playing a rotational sport, no shot. Yeah. So then I kind of explored a little bit and then ended up finding out it was the hip that was causing the back pain. It was the referred pain to the back. My right hip was so jammed up in the socket that I couldn't use it fully. So I know so much about just like the pelvis, the pelvic floor, the low back, how all that skeletal structural functions as well, because I went through it in the rehab process and also the surgery process. And then COVID happened in 2020 and I just felt like things really spiraled for me out of control after that surgery.
And COVID was tough too.
What was the year? Because I'm thinking about this. Did you go to Korea or were you at Milwaukee first?
So Milwaukee was in 2020. Milwaukee I signed a split deal.
Okay, Milwaukee.
where I was on the 40 man and I had a really good chance to make their big league club. And COVID happened. I think I ended up with 10 at bats. But the last big league game I ever played was with the Brewers, and it was in a wild card series against the Dodgers in LA. Not a single fan in the stands, and I was batting fourth against Clayton Kershaw.
And who did you call for a game plan against Clayton Kershaw, and what did you not listen to?
I called Kevin Pillar because he was in the NL West that year. He got traded from the Red Sox to the Rockies, and he faced Kershaw a lot. So I called Kevin about his game plan, and Kevin, I think, was watching the game with my wife.
Yeah.
She was over at your house
Arizona,
watching the game. And I think I took one of the early curveballs, or maybe it was an 0-0
No,
fastball.
you swung at the curveball when I told you not to swing at the curveball.
Oh, that's fair.
And I said, don't swing at the curveball until you have to with 2 strikes. I said, don't be afraid to pull the ball in the dugout. You know how to do that. Fight the fastball and the slider off on the inner half. Pull it. Don't swing at the curveball. It's a trap. And sure enough, first pitch, he throws you a curveball in the dirt. You swing it, and I'm like, he didn't listen.
I didn't see it. You know what's funny was I don't think I saw big league pitching for over 5 weeks leading into that Clayton Kershaw start.
And they were like, go get him, kid.
I think Ryan Braun had back issues, and that ended his career. So all of a sudden, Brawny was like, I can't play today. So they threw me in there.
Another
to
guy with
start.
back issues.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, we care about Ryan's back issues. Yours, not so much.
You're good. Go play, kid.
Yeah.
Like, it was still like, I was 26, 27 at the time.
Yeah.
And like, they just, all of a sudden I was batting fourth for a elimination playoff game. And I was like, holy crap.
So this is during 2020.
Yeah.
And clearly I know this. Our listeners don't know this. Cody doesn't know this. But I remember being with you that offseason, after the Milwaukee playoffs, and you come home. You have to face a tough decision in life. You know, the world is still really unpredictable with everything that happens with COVID, but you're at kind of this crossroads of your career of like, do I continue to, grind it out, maybe minor league deal, make a big league team, or do I go and try to, put my family in a better situation? Do I go take some money? Do I go kind of revamp my career in Korea? You have an offer on the table from a Korean team. The money's a lot more than you would make on a minor league deal. There's also been a lot of, recent success of guys going to Korea, coming back to the major leagues. And you decide to make the decision to go to Korea to guarantee yourself a lot of money, in Korea, but also a chance to maybe step out of that kind of unknown of minor league, major league, to go just kind of cement yourself somewhere for a year.
I was chasing 2 things, and this was after I just got married. Obviously going through COVID year was tough. None of us made much money. It was pretty humbling just from the playing experience. And even if you had a good year that year, it was judged by many of calling it the Mickey Mouse season. It was a tough one. And I remember feeling like financially pressure because I just got married. I was providing for my wife, and my wife and we just bought a house. I bought 2 rental properties. So all the cash that I was saving, and I've always been a saver, like I bought 3 houses within a 3-month span. And like, I was all of a sudden like cash poor, and I was stressed out of my mind about it. So money is always a motivator of the professional ranks, but I had a bigger motivator, and it was the ability to get consistent reps. I didn't get consistent reps the entire 2020 year. None of us did. But I knew coming off the injury, if I could get some consistent reps and also get some guaranteed money, 2 birds, 1 stone, let's go. And I think for me, if I'm being honest with you guys, I made that decision more for money than for baseball. And whenever I've made a decision that's more financial than, growth, it's always bit me in the rear.
Yeah.
And yes, did I get a good amount of money to financially set up my family for the future? Did I put myself in a situation where it was really hard to get back to the place that I really wanted to be? Yeah. And I think that decision, and him and I have talked a lot about it, Kevin and I, my wife and I have talked a lot about it. There were different options out there, but the one that I took, I think eventually was the decision maker that ended my professional baseball career.
Who did you sign with in Korea?
It was the Hanwha Eagles.
And what makes you say that was kind of the nail in the coffin for your career?
At that time in baseball, the corner infield position and primarily the first base position, the value of that position was all of a sudden less than. Think about a guy like Chris Carter, hit 40, maybe 50 home runs to the Brewers the one year and like couldn't get a multi-year deal the next year, signed with the Yankees. Like that type of player, which I played myself into being, was all of a sudden a third or fourth tier player when it came to MLB free agent.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Napoli, dude, in 2016, he hit 30 and drove in 110, 36 and 110, and couldn't find a job the next year. And we played for a World Series team.
Like, there was a big shift all of a sudden in the major leagues where, like, that position and the value you were bringing, if it was one dimensional, then there was plenty of you.
Yeah.
And I felt that. And I think that's probably part of the pressure why I signed the deal in Korea, was because I wanted that guaranteed money. That's the most money. Like, Korea, the 1 year I was there was the most money I ever made in my entire major league career.
Yeah.
Professional career.
Yeah.
And it was the only time I ever played with a guaranteed contract, because I got non-tendered from the Mariners after that 2019 season, which would have went into arbitration.
Yeah.
So I think financially I made that decision because of that, without thinking about what would have set me up to develop more and grow more as a player. And maybe it would have been going to AAA to grind it out. But I also knew that getting a AAA job would have been fairly easy at that point in time. But getting playing time would have been really hard because of where, like, I remember playing with guys, and maybe you both have saw this in AAA. There was dudes that had big league time and could spend 10 years in AAA making $150,000 to $200,000. And like, that was their living. They could play AAA baseball until they were 35, 40 years old. And like, it was a good life.
Yeah.
They couldn't make that going to get another job anywhere. So they do that as long as they could. Baseball completely eliminated that after the COVID year, because they restructured the minor leagues of how many bodies you can have and how many teams you can have. And things just changed way before we understood as players.
I mean, minor league baseball was consolidated greatly after COVID. Like, it was, I mean, you look at what the draft that year was 10 rounds. Now there's 20, right? So yeah, minor league players are making more now. They're making more now than they ever have.
Yeah.
But there's just less of them. So it's not like the owners are spending any more money.
Obviously, Cody's touched a little bit about the difficulty of COVID, and that was kind of the end of your career. You're coming in, still kind of in the middle of COVID, like post-COVID. Like, take us into the experience of playing in Korea and then the difficulty of Korea during COVID.
I had teammates early on in my minor league career that understood how challenging it was for a lot of the Venezuelan, Dominican, Puerto Rican players to uproot their entire life and come to America and pursue their dream. And he was always outgoing to make sure they had what they needed away from the baseball field. I didn't understand that perspective until I went to a foreign country and experienced baseball, of being thrown into a culture that was completely different than anything that I ever saw in my entire life. I didn't speak the language. I didn't know what any street sign or menu or, grocery store said outside of whatever the translator would help me with if he had time away from the field. Like, it was humbling, and it made you feel small all of a sudden in this world that is so big.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things about professional baseball is how much it allows us as individuals to experience this country from coast to coast. And I felt like I saw so much of this country, and then you get thrown into a foreign country and you're like, whoa, this is wild. I never expected this. And I think that experience was so great for just the human development of understanding what different people might experience to get to the place where they're trying to go, at least in the baseball being the vehicle aspect of it. It was so wild, the times of it as well, because 2021 is the year after COVID. Some places had different regulations than others. Like, Korea was still very, very strict. I remember entering the country in January of 2021, having to go through a COVID protocol. Like, you fly in, you're wearing the full mask, you get off the plane, you hop on this bus, and their rules would you to quarantine for 2 weeks before you could join anyone else in like the country. So we hop on the bus with a couple of foreign players, and we go get these COVID tests where they pretty much scratch your brain a little bit to make sure you don't have COVID. And then you go into this like rural part of town where we stayed in this house for 2 weeks, and there's not a single fork in sight. Like, it's all chopsticks, and like, it's just nothing you've ever seen before. And what's funny though is, like, to this day, I actually like using chopsticks more than a fork with some foods, because I just like, it makes you remember that time of my life. I was not in the mental headspace though in that 2021 season, mostly because I was chasing former versions of myself.
Yeah.
I was chasing the 2016 version of myself, the 2017 version of myself as a player, instead of trying to acknowledge that I've been through a ton of adversity. I've been through multiple surgeries. I'm not the same player, but how can I be the best version of myself right now to continue at least moving forward? And I felt like chasing the ghosts of my past and my baseball career ultimately ended my career in that next year because I had no idea where I was at in that current moment. I lost that present moment focus of how am I improving right now because I was chasing the former ghosts.
That's wild. I mean, I think that happens. I know that happened to me. I spent a lot of time, in the video room looking at things I had no business looking at, right? It's like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, that was 10 years ago. Like, let's just grind one out today. And then let's grind one out tomorrow. Let's grind one out tomorrow. Let's grind one out tomorrow. I do want to ask you, so I know with COVID and 2021, in Korea, did they still have the smoke break in the 5th inning?
Oh, yeah. And there were moments.
Do you know that?
And like I was never...
smoke break. Everybody stops.
Yeah,
Players,
the game
umpires,
stops.
everything. Game stops.
I think
smoke
it's the
break,
5th inning.
The
There's
fifth?
like a 5 to 7 minute break where like they drag the field. All the players, they'll go smoke a cigarette. There's a whole hierarchy of how old you are. It determines like where you're able to smoke the cigarettes, and the younger you are, like there's literally dudes smoking cigarettes in the bathroom
where's the
stalls.
big dogs? Where are they smoking their cigarettes?
Wherever they want. There's no rules. You can go in the batter's box during the smoke break and smoke.
Hey,
Like if you're a hung, like you can go smoke in the.
I wanted to ask you too, because you mentioned that. So we have pretty much right now in the current game of baseball, we have 3 Korean players. There's Ha-Sung Kim, there's Hung-Jo Lee, and then there's the guy who plays for the Dodgers now. That's Ha-Sung Kim.
Yeah.
I played against Kim and Lee.
Ha-Sung Lee, the shortstop.
Did not play against him. He signed.
He was already in San Diego at the time. So
that was his first year in San Diego. Was my first year.
So you saw Hung-Jo Lee, who's the outfielder for the Giants.
Yeah.
And then you saw the second baseman for the Dodgers.
Jung-Hoo Lee and Ha-Sung Kim. I saw them both in Korea.
Jung-Hoo Lee can bang.
And did you see when you saw them?
You knew that Jung-Hoo Lee was going to find his way out of the KBO. Yeah. Just because like his bat to ball skills, the way that he commanded the game, and in 3 facets of base running, defense, and hitting, like he commanded the game.
He was better than everyone else.
Yes. Like, and obviously Ha-Sung Kim, who has now with the Braves, like his power potential that he had over in the KBO was special, and that's probably what got him over, to the States. But Jung-Hoo Lee, it was more of the complete player, which is why he signed a much bigger contract than Ha-Sung Kim did out of the KBO, is because it wasn't just the power potential. It was the threat that he was on defense, on the base paths, and also like the complete hitter in the batter's box. And he had some injuries early in his career, but like I think we're seeing what his potential is so far this season.
Yeah, dude, he's having a really good year.
He's a really good player.
And then what about the Ha-Sung Kim?
Ha-Sung Kim was the guy that's in the Braves, I believe.
No, who's the one with the Dodgers?
Ha-Sung.
Ha-Sung.
Ha-Sung and Ha-Sung?
Who's the one with the Dodgers right now?
Tell you.
The second baseman for the Dodgers. There's Ha-Sung Kim, which is a shortstop, and then there's Hung-Jo Lee, and then there's the one with the Dodgers right now.
Ha-Sung Kim with the Dodgers.
Ha-Sung Kim with the Kim. So who's the one with the pod or the Dodgers?
That's Ha-Sung Kim.
Ha-Sung and Ha-Sung?
There's Ha-Sung and Ha-Sung.
Okay, just making sure that it was close. So we were saying it. So I want to be respectful.
H-Y and H-A.
Ha-Sung with the Dodgers.
He's a left-handed hitter.
Ha-Sung's with the Braves. Ha-Sung's with the Dodgers.
Ha-Sung with the Dodgers.
Yes.
He was a special player. He wasn't as complete as Jung-Hoo Lee, but you still knew that there was something different about it. And I just think the scouting that the major league teams can do in these foreign countries is so interesting. They're able to evaluate what the potential is. And I feel like the contracts that these players sign is pretty equivalent to what their potential is so far.
Yeah.
And I guess that to go back, like that was part of my thought process. Eric Thames was a pioneer on the offensive front of going from the KBO to the big leagues. And I kind of saw myself as like, I can go spend a year or 2 in Korea and bang, hit some homers, get back to my former self, and I can find my way back to the big leagues.
Did you play with him in Milwaukee?
No, I did not. So I was after him. Yeah, just missed him.
Man, he was a dude.
But like that was what my journey, like the vision that I saw in my head, that's what I was telling myself when I did sign that contract. And I think like even a guy like Kevin, who would have conversations with my wife behind scenes, like I think they both probably thought he should go to AAA and grind and he can earn his way back to the big leagues. Like I had this vision in my head of Eric Thames just went and hit a bunch of homers in Korea for a couple seasons, then signed a multi-year deal in the big leagues. Like that could be me. I could be that guy.
Yeah, I think that route, and obviously Eric Thames did it, and I think we're seeing it a lot now with, and I think technology has changed a lot. We could project out a pitcher a little bit more now with the data that we have, with the information we have. We're seeing guys like Cody Ponce just came back with Toronto, signed a 3-year deal. You would hope that somewhere down the line that option of Korea or Japan is, very accessible for players that are in this kind of transition period of their career. But I don't think the technology has caught up to the idea that we can project a hitter yet, where we can project a pitcher stuff.
No, but I think to your point though, the desire to go play overseas for a lot of players has multiplied a ton since the minor leagues has restructured after COVID.
I wanted to go. And COVID kind of kept it from happening.
I wanted to go too.
So you and I talked a lot about it. And if you remember, the Korean scout for Hanwha actually came to your house. We went to the local Arcadia Park where he saw me throw and run with Kevin, was there the whole time. Then we went to Kevin's house where we actually built a cage in his backyard together where him and I hit every single day together back there. And the scout came to watch me hit in his backyard, and he was joking with Kevin about wanting to come play in Korea. And he was like, whenever you're ready, like, let us know. And Kevin after was like, I'd probably want to go to Japan realistically. Like, no disrespect, but like, I'd probably want to go to Japan. Because like, I was like Adam Jones went to Japan. Like, it was a really big deal.
He was making good money. My buddy Justin Smoke went there.
Smokey went there. Yeah.
He went there, made good money. Before we wrap this up, I got one more question before he has some questions for you. But obviously, I know this firsthand experience. So you clearly have a bit of a difficult time in Korea. Obviously, the fact that, your wife isn't able to come over as quickly as possible, all the COVID protocols, being in a foreign country, not speaking the language, the game being kind of different, you end up getting released from your contract, you come back home. But I remember the next year, we were in similar situations, but not the same exact situation, where we were both trying to find jobs. And I'll never forget the moment being with you where we explored kind of all options for you. I was still kind of waiting back kind of in the weeds to see what would happen, but we were actually at dinner together with our families. You had, your daughter at the time. We were at dinner together with my kids, and I remember you signing your deal with the Rays and you feeling like it was an opportunity for you to go out there and prove yourself and get back into kind of Major League Baseball. And, it was short-lived, and then you had to kind of make a pivot in your career.
All right, so this is going to be, obviously, Cody, I want to hear your questions too, but this is kind of the end of Ryon Healy's journey in Major League Baseball as a player. But I'll go back to 2021 first. Got released on 4th of July from Korea. And I remember I had to wait there for 7 days to clear waivers before I can go home. And I remember collecting checks for the rest of that year, every single month. Biggest checks I've ever collected in my life, every single month. And I was the most miserable human being you ever met in your entire life. So the money didn't solve my problems. I remember sitting on my back patio, though, in not late September. It was late July, maybe early August. And Mexico City called me and they wanted me to come down there to play for them for their playoff run. And I said no to that. And I didn't even consider it. And I didn't realize how impactful that was until a few months later. But the minute that I started saying no to opportunity to go play baseball at that stage of my career, I decided that I was done before I ever knew I was done. Mm-hmm. And I think back to that moment a ton. And fast forward to when you and I are sitting, getting ready for waiting for our table at dinner, I emailed all 30 teams by myself. And I remember going to GCU with Kevin, Jock Peterson, Jason Kipnis, Tyler Anderson, all these guys that were trying to get jobs and stay ready. And I felt good. Like I felt like I was in a good place. And I went and actually played winter ball that December or November in Mexicali. And that was the most fun that I've had playing baseball in a long time. And I left right before Christmas because my wife was pregnant and I wanted to be home for the holidays. And I didn't have the grind in me to go pursue playoffs in Mexico winter ball. So I left. And another red flag for me, for like the desire to continue to compete and play, wasn't really there. Got the job with the Rays after emailing all 30 teams. They emailed back, called my agents, went out to Port Charlotte, right? Port Charlotte in Florida, and was there for 8 or 9 days. And I think I got 8 or 9 at bats and I got sent home. And I remember driving from Port Charlotte to Tampa to fly out of there. And I called my wife and called my dad, and I was like, I think this is it. Like, I don't know why. I just have a feeling this could be the end. Maybe it was more mental, maybe it was more physical, whatever it was. Like, there's a lot that happened between that release and me actually hanging them up that gave me the mental confidence to determine that I was done. But I knew that driving home from that opportunity with the Rays, after getting released from that, I remember sitting in the office where Kevin Cash told me that I was getting released. And I was like, so what do I do now? Like, do I go pack my bags and get a flight home? He's like, yeah, that's what you do next. I was like, wow, if that's my next move, then what is in store for Ryon Healy in the future? And life's definitely gone a lot of different directions since then.
I feel like it, all of us, the end kind of meets you at a different point, right? There's like 0.001% of guys that get to choose how they get to go out, right? And I think the signs are there, right? I think the sign for you is like when you were like, you're cashing checks and you're like, man, this isn't about money, anymore. And when you start turning down opportunities, you're, for me, it was, I'd played for a couple teams trying to make it back up to the big leagues, explored opportunities overseas. And even when I was playing, I really wasn't having a whole lot of fun. Like, even when I was pitching well, like I had stretches where I was like, man, I'm throwing the ball really well. And it felt like to me, like the only reason I wanted to get back up was just to make money. That's all. It was like, hey, I just want to cash a few more checks, get some more security for my family, all that stuff. And so there's a couple things going on. I was like, my home life wasn't awesome, right? I had 2 kids at home that I wasn't seeing hardly at all. A wife who was just doing it on her own, and I wasn't having a whole lot of fun. And like the baseline of my career was with this organization being Cleveland, where we're in the postseason every year. Like, I was with a core group of guys that we kind of came through the minor leagues together. We were in Cleveland all together for like 8 years. And it was like, I was like, man, no matter where I go, I'm not going to be able to replicate that. And once I kind of figured out, I was like, man, I just won't be able to replicate that wherever I go if I'm just trying to make a team. And so, I ended up, I was like, all right, I'll give it till February 1st of 2021. If I don't have like an opportunity that arises that I feel like, you know what, this is a good shot, where I could go play for a team that they're competing, and I've got a shot to maybe work myself in the back end of the bullpen. And I remember throwing a bullpen for a couple scouts, and like velo is kind of what I was chasing, right? That's what teams wanted to see. And I'd been, for the last a year, I'd been like anywhere from like a 91 to 90, 91, 92. I'd grab a 3 or a 4. And I threw a bullpen at Meister's place here in Arlington, and I popped a couple 6s and was like sitting at 5. And I knew I was done when he told me, because like I had kind of already made up my mind internally. And as soon as they told me, like, hey, dude, you're like 5'6" today. And I was like, crap. Like, I immediately was like, man, if I was just like 89, 91, like it made the decision for me. It was easy. And so, but even after that, like I couldn't replicate it. It just was like one of those weird days where it was just coming out different. And February 1st, called my agent and was like, unless you got something for me. Like, I think I had a minor league deal from Oakland and a minor league deal from St. Louis at that point. And I was like, I'm good. I'm gonna go home.
Yeah. Wait. I mean, I had a similar experience like with the Rangers. Obviously I was living at home. Like, it was the dream come true, but there was points of the season, and I started opening day. I faced Garrett Crochet on opening day and I had success. So like I was having success, but there was points of the season where I was driving from here to the field and I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Right? Like I knew in the off season before, like I had unfinished business. I wanted to like check this box, make sure that like my cup was filled completely, right?
I thought you were done for sure that offseason.
I thought I was done the year before. And then I had the thumb surgery, and then you go through all the rehab process. And I'm like, okay, my thumb feels good. And I'm talking to a lot of my buddies that are retired, and they're like, if you have like a little bit in you left that wants to play, go play. Because like once you say you're done, you can't go back. So I went back to spring training. I checked all those boxes. I make the team. I start opening day. I have success. I'm playing, the first month of the season. And there's a point in me where I'm like, I'm driving to the field and I'm like, am I driving because I still want to play and I enjoy this, or because I enjoy cashing the check?
Yeah.
And, long story short, I ended up getting released a couple months later, right? And to your point, like I'm cashing checks in the off season. I'm like, it was different because I knew I was done. I was enjoying the checks coming in, but till that point, I was like, what am I doing? Like I got a wife and 2 kids that like want me home, and I'm not playing. I'm not enjoying myself sitting on the bench. I've never been more stressed in my life sitting on the bench, waiting for them to be like, hey, you got to go pinch hit. I'm like, oh shit. Like, oh my God, I'm not ready for this. Okay, I'll go hit. I'll go fake it. Right.
Do you remember?
I'm sitting on the bench watching the game thinking, I wonder what my kids are doing right now.
Kev, do you remember the phone call that you and I had when you came off of the IL when you were at the Rangers?
No, tell me about it. Because I mean, I was in a little bit of a, I would say I was in a little bit of a dark place, like when I got hurt, because I had prided myself on being healthy, and then the end of my career I got hurt, and I was somewhat living the dream, living at home, playing for the team, but like mentally I probably knew I was done.
Do you remember the left-handed pitcher that you faced your first game off of the IL when you came back playing in Frisco for the Rangers?
No, he wasn't very good, and he was carving me up.
I want to say it was Framber Valdez for the Astros. I could be wrong.
Yeah. When I came back from the IL, I faced Valdez. Yeah.
So he called me. I think it was a Sunday day game that you faced him.
Yeah, they called me up, Saturday and I faced him. Yeah,
Saturday night you called me, and I was just getting done with a date night with my wife. We went to dinner. We were at a bar getting a couple drinks, and we were in the Uber getting home. And Kevin called me, and I'll never forget the words that he said to me. He's like, "I need you to instill a little confidence in me." And I'm like, bro, you're a 10-year big leaguer, and like I'm,
you need me.
I got 3.5 years of showtime, and I'm trying to build my post playing career life, and you need me to instill confidence in you.
I do remember this because I got hurt. I went to AA, and they had told me I needed to earn my way back on the team. I wasn't performing well in AA.
That's when I was watching videos on social media.
I was like not there, right? Physically, I wasn't fully there. I was kind of faking it because I wanted to get back to the big leagues. Mentally, I wasn't there. Someone got hurt. They called me up. I'm facing Framber Valdez, and guy I had success off. And like, I felt like I had no business. And I remember calling him on the way home. I'm like, dude, I need you to build me up right now. Like,
I'm in an Uber.
I need you to tell me I'm good.
Cody, I'm in an Uber with my wife driving home from a date night talking to Kevin. I'm like, sorry, babe, I got to take this. This is Kevin. I'm like, I'm talking to him, talking him through. So I'm like, Kev, like, walk me through the approach. So we like go through the approach. I'm like, all right. All you got to do is hunt this pitch.
I'm getting it. I'm grounding up the short.
And I remember watching the at-bats the next day, and he didn't get a hit, but he definitely got the pitch, and he swung at it. And it kind of was like a full circle moment. Yeah. It's like the COVID year when I faced Kershaw. At least you listened to my advice, unlike I did. And you didn't get success, but success is not guaranteed in baseball, let alone the major leagues, no matter what you do.
Yeah. Success is not guaranteed, and nor is the end of your career when you decide that it's either time to hang it up, where the game tells you it's no longer time for you to play anymore. Yeah. I think we all you go through phases in your career when you're like, hey, I want to, leave either college or high school, and I want to pursue this thing. And then you work through the minor leagues, you get to the big leagues, you want to stay in the big leagues. And then when you establish yourself, you sort of start to think about, how do I want it to end for me? And not a lot of us get to choose the ending. The game kind of tells us when it's time. Yours was obviously a lot earlier than you thought. Yours was earlier than you thought. I got to kind of ride it out longer than I thought I would play, but still the game told me it was time to leave. But this has been incredible. I kind of want to give you the opportunity now that your post-career, and I know that you've spent, the majority of your post-career kind of giving back to guys kind of chasing their dream now. I just kind of want to give you the opportunity to kind of talk about what you're doing now, with a lot of these kids and kind of the lessons that you're kind of sharing with them.
So we talk a lot about purpose, and as a player, our purpose was bigger than ourselves. And I think that's what drove us a lot. Whether it was money motivated or not, or just being better tomorrow than we were today. We were motivated a lot of things. Well, I went through a lot of transitions out of baseball, and you got to see them firsthand of how dark some of those days were for me. And I would say 2 years post-retirement, I started to find my purpose a little bit. And I think it was just serving the next generation of athletes that wanted to accomplish something that maybe no one around them has ever thought was possible, or didn't know how to show them how to get to that level of what was possible, whether it was high school to college or college to pro, or even it was middle school to starting in a high school team, whatever that journey was. And I think for me, the reason why baseball ended earlier than I thought it was because I mentally wasn't tough enough to handle that level of adversity. And Cody, you talk about the numbers you were chasing in bullpens. I was chasing the same thing in the batting cage of exit velocity. I felt like if analytically, if numerically, I could measure up to the version of myself when I was a really good player, that all of a sudden I was worthy and I could go do it. And once I proved myself that I could hit 110 in the batting cage again, I was like, I know I could go do it, but I'm going to choose not to. And that felt like my 1% moment where I was like, I'm going to choose my moment out. I'm going to choose my exit. I didn't know where that exit was going to take me, and it's led me down this tremendous path of being able to work with high school, middle school, college athletes that have bigger dreams in this game. And I think my emphasis now is way more on the mental development of using the game of baseball as a vehicle to prepare you for what real life looks like, not even just college or professional baseball. Like baseball is such a treasure in the sport in itself because of the failure that comes with it to prepare you for what that next level of life can look like, whether it's being a husband, a father, an employee at a successful business, like always wanting more. We were all instilled with that. And that's why we were big leaguers and why we accomplished what we did in that level. But that doesn't stop when the game ends. And I want to make sure that the next generation of athletes understands that baseball is the vehicle to the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I want you to know that the rest of your life can be so unbelievable. You can have an all-star season every single year of your life if you attack it the right way, if you lead the right way, if you are the example that your family needs. Because there's so much opportunity to go be successful in business. There's so much opportunity to go be successful in coaching. There's so many ways to impact different human beings. And if you measure impact over income, then you have no idea what your ceiling is in this life. And if impact is your vehicle for income, then you'll never feel like you're working a day in your life. And my biggest goal in this current journey of being a father too, and being a husband and being a leader of my family, is I want to impact my family every single day more than I impact the clients that I lead. Because if I can do that, then the income is going to follow in whatever vehicle that's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, that's another reason why we love baseball, is just because of how much it's formed us, right? It's formed us into, none of us are playing, right? We still got to live our lives. We got people that depend on us. But dude, I can't thank you enough for sharing your story with us, man. You've been super generous with your time. Extremely transparent with a lot of things that you went through that I think a lot of people take a lot from. I got some questions for you here for us to end on. Just some fun ones that we always like to hear. Nastiest pitcher you ever faced?
Okay, so I've looked this up, and I know the pitchers that I struggle with the most, so I'll give them credit. Dallas Keuchel and Wade Miley ate my absolute lunch.
Really?
Oh, dude, I was so right-handed hitter, supposed to crush the lefties.
I think it makes sense because knowing you and kind of like the anxiety that you brought to the plate, the fact that, and we talked about it earlier with Matt Carpenter, like when the moment's big, the slower kind of messes people up, and like it makes sense.
I was better against the aces because I had nothing to lose. But when you face Dallas Keuchel and Wade Miley coming off of Justin Verlander, Garrett Cole, I had to get hits off of those two lefties because if I didn't, then I was going over for the series.
Also, the idea of like the slower, right? Like
trying to do too much.
Yeah. For sure. It makes sense.
I was trying to hit everything. So like those two guys, and there's a million others, like Jose Severino with the Yankees when he was there in his prime was nasty. Chris Sale was filthy. Like there's a laundry list of guys that I can go through.
Yeah, Severino was really, really good. So Oakland's moving to Vegas. Do you think they'd have been better off staying, or are you excited about the move to Vegas?
I don't have excitement for the move because I know how passionate the fans of Oakland were about the A's. And I know that when that team was successful and won, the fans showed up more than any other team you can imagine. But there were so many down years in between the good where they weren't showing up that forced the ownership's hands. It's hard for me to have emotions on it. Like I wish they could have stayed in Oakland. I understand business-wise why they're making that transition, but it's hard for me to be excited about Vegas when I know what's being left behind.
But do you think Vegas is going to be a good opportunity for them?
I think that the A's fans from Northern California are going to travel to see them down there, just like the Raiders fans have, to be honest with you.
Vegas has been a good sports town, man.
I think so too. And I think it's a newer opportunity for a established professional team, but there's so much history from Oakland and the Athletics and their success that they had there that it's sad as just a baseball fan to see that type
Raiders
of move have to happen.
Hayes now going. Peace. Yep. Where do you think, so there's chatter around baseball about an expansion team. What market or what place would you be super pumped to see a new expansion team?
The three that I see the most is Nashville, Portland, and Salt Lake City.
Portland, I haven't heard that one.
Portland is kind of circulated through. I think Nashville's such a hotbed.
Nashville, I mean, it's a
but I don't know if the AL or NL Central need another team in that division.
Yeah. So
part of me goes to, Portland or Salt Lake City just for like the geographical layout of what the AL and NL West looks like.
Yeah.
AL West in particular, of like having two teams in Texas, if that can be restructured, like the travel that goes on, being a former Seattle Mariner, I know how many miles that team travels every single year. I don't know if Portland has the infrastructure to support. I don't know nearly enough about that economy and what that, city does. It's very close to Seattle, and I know the Mariners. Like, it's funny, the Pacific Northwest polls pretty split from Mariners and A's fans. Obviously, with the A's moving, it's harder now, but I've talked to plenty of people in that market that are fans of both, one or the other. It'd be interesting to see how a third team being introduced into there would function in Portland. I think Salt Lake City makes the most sense.
I would imagine some of those fans are Toronto fans too.
Yeah. I mean, you're the one that told me this when the Blue Jays first came to Seattle and I played up there. He's like, they're going to see more Blue Jays fans than the Mariners fans. And I remember walking around downtown.
Because of Vancouver?
Yeah, because it's close to the border. Obviously Toronto is Canada's team. So even people on the West Coast, Victoria, BC, Vancouver, will migrate down to Seattle.
I remember seeing a couple dozen Pilar jerseys walking around downtown my first year in Seattle. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, what does he think he is? But like, dude, the Blue Jays fans, they show up for their team no matter where they're at.
Dude, Rogers Center rocks.
So to your point, I don't know. Like, I think that Utah has had so much and Salt Lake City's had so much growth.
They've done a really good
with
job.
The hockey team moving from Arizona to there as well. The basketball team's really relevant. Like, I think baseball could make sense there. But it does sound like the big leagues wants to add not just one but two teams. So where is that? Where are those two cities? It'd be really interesting.
I got one. You have one more question?
You go.
I got one last question. You obviously saw this guy from when he was in the minor leagues. You talked about going on a European vacation. We're seeing what he's doing now. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but the trajectory that he's on, could you see a way that Matt Olson becomes a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, definitely.
I think he's on pace for 500 home runs.
It's like, not
depending
something,
on like the longevity of his career.
Yeah,
but
it's not something that I think he was maybe striving for. Why I say yes so confidently though is because him and I've had a conversation, and we just did a big trip in January of this year together, where we got to be together in person for the first time in a couple of years. And like the desire for him to want to even play past the contract that he's signed to with the Braves, like he wants to keep going. Like he has that inner itch to want to keep going and playing and pursuing whatever versions of himself he can do while also maintaining the most even-keeled day-to-day persona that you've ever seen, that you got to see in the clubhouse, that I got to see in the clubhouse. Like this dude just shows up ready to play every day. He posts, and he also puts up just professional bats. Like I think if consistency of performance matters to the Hall of Fame at some point, and if
we know numbers matter.
But if Matt's bodies of work continues to develop the way that it has for the next 5, 6, 7 years, like I think he'd make a really great argument to get in. Would he be a first ballot right away? Maybe not, but I think he is probably the closest thing that I've played to.
He's a guy, think about, if you look at his career up to this point, and then if you're like, hey, if we can add longevity there, he's a guy that would be like an Adrian Beltre type. Like Beltre never won an MVP.
Yeah.
He's an all-star.
He's never going to win.
And
he's never going to win
was
MVP.
a guy that just, you talk about like, the guy just posted every day. And
I think that's a great comp because I don't think Matt's ever going to win MVP. He's got the longest streak going in baseball of consecutive games played. Yeah. He posts every day. He's going to, and you think about even like a guy like Albert Pujols, you think about how long he played. He never hit, and Matt did have a 50 homer season. I was there for it.
He was the second
Matt
in MVP that year.
It's going to be like a 35 to 40 homer, but he's just going to stack those on top of it. And at the end of his career, you're going to be like, man, this guy hit 550 home runs.
Dude, Hank Aaron never hit 50 in a year.
Yeah, same thing.
Wow. Never hit 50.
Yeah, I think if Matt puts together whatever it is, 12 to 15, he got to the big leagues so young. If I was 24, then he was 22. Like, he got to the big leagues so young. If he has a 13-year career, and I don't want to put numbers and expectations on him because he is who he is right now, and whatever he develops to be is unseen. Like, if he just continues stacking days on top of days like he is right now, I think there's no argument to why he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame one day.
I agree.
Well, can't thank you enough for coming on, man. Like, I know you're out here visiting, but this is a long time coming.
No, I flew out here for this.
You flew out here for this. We appreciate you, but one of my best friends in the world, man. We love sharing everyone's kind of different journey, and obviously his journey ended a little bit sooner than he wanted it to be. The journey to getting the big leagues, pretty incredible, from, playing wiffle ball with your dad in the backyard to getting a chance to play in the big leagues for as long as you did. And we love sharing the fact that, it's less than, 25,000 people ever get a chance to play in the big leagues. So, for someone that didn't get to play as long in the big leagues as maybe he wanted to play, the fact that you got there, you're part of that fraternity that's less than Fenway Park, and we can't thank you enough for being, transparent, honest with your journey. And we hope a lot of people learn a lot from this kind of journey and your experience. And if you want us to keep making more content, keep subscribing, keep giving us follows, keep giving us comments, share guests you want to see having on, and we thank you.